You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 2 of Lawful Good, Neighborly Love. Hello.
Hello.
It has been so long since we have recorded, due to no one's fault in this room.
I feel like whole lifetimes have passed since I've last been
Our
in here.
relationship has changed.
Fundamentally. Yeah, forever.
We broke up. Just kidding. Just
we
kidding.
like kind of moved in together briefly for a little bit.
Oh my God.
So adorable.
It was so cute. No notes.
Once again, the Office dinner party episode features strongly in a relationship that is unnatural and unholy for me.
Okay, we have to explain. Hi, my name is Maya. That's Grant. If you don't want to listen to us recap our silly little weekend adventures, you can use the chapter function and skip forward to my story tonight.
Yeah. But for those of you who are here for the story, Maya and I went on that work trip for me where she helps serve as one of the chaperones, which is great.
I serve as a mother
yes,
during
you
that
do.
time. Thank you. I just need that kind of credit.
Hey, remember on that trip when I told a child, I hate you? I hate you.
I want you to know I think about that every single day.
That story obviously has gotten considerable airtime in my classroom since returning.
I'm so glad it's gotten
So
airtime
funny.
in the classroom.
So
That's
funny.
where it belongs.
People love it. It's hilarious. It's a good story. But you and I chaperoned a trip and ended up staying at a hotel.
It was a long stay hotel.
Right, but like a nice
It was
and
an
clean
apartment.
one. Yeah, we had a living room.
And
then
like a full stove.
Yeah, and our own separate bedrooms.
Yes,
it was really
I
sustainable.
was really, really anxious about sleeping next to Grant. Not that like I hate him, but I was like, I know I'm already not going to get a lot of sleep on this tournament. And if this idiot wakes me up with his snoring, I might sucker punch him in the face.
Could you hear me from your room?
No.
Great, amazing.
No, I couldn't. It was beautiful. Also, I kept the TV on a low volume as I was falling asleep. Yeah.
The TV out
nice.
in the living room or
No,
the one in
in
your
my
room?
room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we in our living room, we'd come back. There was like one day where we got back early, and by that I mean like 7:45.
Yeah. So
and
early.
we were able to like eat dinner kind of, and we're watching The Office because it's what's on cable, and neither of us really know how to cast from our phone, if that's even an option.
There was no option.
And first episode on for The Office that night, dinner party episode.
I lost my mind when I saw that it was on.
So funny. Now, this episode has some like lore in my own personal life that I've shared on the episode before. Years ago, I was in a relationship that absolutely should have ended sooner than it did.
So much sooner.
And a big, like at the end of the relationship, the only pillar supporting that roof was when we were mad or passive aggressive with each other, we would watch The Office's dinner party episode, and it was so funny. It would unite us for like that evening.
I think that might be the cure for like a lot of things, honestly. If Casey had that sense of humor to find that episode funny, I would be doing that too. He finds it awful to watch.
It's like a horror movie
It's
for
a
him,
horror
isn't
movie
it?
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny. Loved it so much. Also great because the TV audio would cut out for just like 1 second, which is like 1 second.
Yeah, just enough to be like a word that you miss.
Correct. And almost always it was the punchline. And so thank God I had Maya there who could just word for word write out the script for me if I needed it.
The way I could say every single line in all of the episodes that we watched should have been humiliating.
She'd start laughing a little bit before the punchline, and then it would cut out a little bit sometimes. And then I'd look at her and she would, after calming down, tell me what the punchline is. But at that point, it's like a joke a little kid tells you where you're like, oh, yeah. Okay.
You found it funnier than that.
Not all. Dinner party episode, yes. And the next couple ones, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
He's lying to you.
Things I'm not lying to you about, though.
Yeah.
You and I did learn, accidentally, kind of then on purpose, the theme song to Big Bang Theory.
It's really a shame how much that show fucking slaps.
Dude,
Like,
we're watching it and we're like, at least for the episodes we're watching, we're like, you know,
comedic elements are here.
the elements of comedy are absolutely present. Not as problematic as it could have been.
As The Office in some of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Friends, you know? Oh, where Monica is just a better person now that she's not fat.
Yeah, now that
right?
she's skinny for some reason.
Monica's evil was epitomized by her fatness, and now that she's not fat, she's just fun and neurotic.
All the men just got like cool, and all the women had like fundamental physical changes that made them cool.
Exactly. But like... We're humming it. And
The whole universe was in a hot, dense state. Then nearly 14 million years ago, expansion started. Wait, we're going to get copyrighted. We have to
That's
stop
exactly what I was thinking. We're going to get another email.
Yeah, at one point your students were trying to prank you, so they like tried to I want to say ding dong ditch, but we didn't have a doorbell. They like knocked and tried to run, but then they really failed at running, and also we could hear them like a mile away giggling down the hallway. And then they tried to like sneak a whoopee cushion in, but then they were laughing so hard they collapsed in front of the door. Meanwhile, the theme song to The Big Bang Theory came on, and Grant just fully turned around on them, door open, so that we could sing the song, and they went, "We're not interested anymore."
Right, exactly. And then they came back the next night, and I was like, "Our show was on," and I like closed it. Like, no soliciting.
We don't need this. Yeah, you didn't. There's a sign, ma'am.
The team did well.
Yeah.
Always proud of them. I think we told some cool stories. Fun tournament. That was great. Also, like, they absolutely could have listened to us a little bit more. You know, we came back from that trip being like, wow, those children trust us so much as the adults on the trip to like have that kind of relationship and candor with us, right? Not the like, oh, they disrespect us so much they ignored every single rule.
No, they disrespect us so much because they don't want to be in places when we tell them to be in places.
No hotel call time was ever
Not
recognized.
a single one. In fact, one of them, I had to fully call. 10 minutes, I was like, everyone be down in the lobby at 6 p.m. 6:07 hits. And I'm like, all right, these idiots. Like, they haven't texted or anything in the group chat. I call him. It's two boys, obviously. And I'm like, where are you? And he was like, am I supposed to be somewhere? And I was like, you fucking idiot. I'm gonna kill you.
And this was what's so fun about my group of students specifically, especially when you get them out of their like systems and routines that they have back at home, where you're like, these children are like brilliant and could lecture you to a degree on like some of the finer points of like U.S. Constitution or like the liberal world order.
With them about that.
But also at the same time, one of these children, it's the same child.
Yes.
Showed up back at our hotel while at the Harvard tournament 3 minutes before we needed to leave for the airport so he could start packing.
My favorite story is still when he shows up to the airport sans suitcase. How do you do that?
One of the children, and we need to keep this child nameless and like anonymous, but one of the children, we were like, you need to go to your room. It's room check time. And this child was like, I have to clean this pot. And I was like, well, it's actually 5 minutes after I told you room check time. So you need to go to your room and
you
do
can
that
clean the pot
later.
there. You have a sink as well.
Right. Found out maybe today in class. It's all kind of gotten buried together. I was like, oh yeah, when did you return the pot to them, by the way? Because I know you cleaned it. And the child goes, that night. And I go, what?
Why would you tell me that?
What was the point of room checks if it just meant you washed the pot in a different sink? And so I've also told them on our next trip coming up in a month, like final one of the season, I was like, not going to be so cool about some of that stuff, okay? You're lucky that, like, Mr. Thomas was kind of distracted, okay?
Mr. Thomas was pretty distracted.
Just with, like, the amount of work that I had to do for that experience.
And Maya doesn't know how to exert authority over these children.
And also, like, my fear of, like, misbehavior from that group was pretty low.
Yeah.
It's never zero.
No.
But, like, pretty low. But the next trip we're going to take is going to have slightly more kids, and it's going to be a little bit longer, and so we got to, you know, and that's just the nature of things.
Yeah, and you're going to have a lot of time to pay attention to them.
Because I'm not going to be in charge of it all. No, exactly. I'll be on top of them, like the surveillance state our federal government is slowly erecting around us.
Ooh.
Don't worry, we talked about it in debate class.
I know.
Legally, we think it's dubious, but it do be happening. Thanks.
Now, wait a minute. That was wordplay, and I like that.
So there was the work trip. That was big fun.
Yes, there's so many stories that we can't share on live air, but head to Patreon. There's one specifically that...
Hold on. Look at me. What's the... Yeah, tune in for that one. Tune in for that one. If anything, because it's one of the few teaching stories where I actually come out looking like a rose.
Oh, yeah, he does. He comes out looking so good, and I come out looking like a fucking idiot.
Gosh, can I just say, too, also... I'm in like kind of the best time of year as a teacher. Our seniors have been dismissed
Oh, really?
They're like scheduled to
Oh,
graduate.
'cause
I actually
AP
think
test time.
graduation is like Tuesday.
Oh.
So seniors just aren't around anymore, which in all of my mixed grade level classes means I'm missing anywhere from like a third to like a half or a quarter, kind of depending on how big they were in that class, obviously. So we're just like doing like get to know you activities. And I spent an entire period getting a group of sophomores to rearrange all the cabinets in my drawers.
Nice.
Found a huge roll of aluminum foil. So guess whose house now finally has aluminum foil for one time and one time only. Just like every day I walk in and I go, I
could bake some chicken
what's
nuggets.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I have this list of things that I can just kind of point to based on the vibe, you know, but it's like seniors are gone, AP testing is still happening. We had a weird snow day, so like retakes are happening. If you're an admin out there, we love you. And I don't think I could do your job because I like enjoying my work. But other than that, a lower level admin walked into my class today and was like, hey, Mr. Thomas, do you have Jane Doe? And I go, no. And he goes, do you know where Jane Doe is right now? And I go, do you mean like this moment or like generally this week? I'm gonna kind of need you to.
I'm gonna need you to narrow that down, babes.
And then they go, what did you do with your class? And I'm looking at them and I go, so the class I have Jane Doe in normally happens at this time. But this week's schedule means that class happened 24 hours ago. So I don't know where Jane Doe is right now. But I know she's very much not supposed to be with me. And as you can see,
she isn't. Yeah. And as you can see.
Oh, hey, Grant, thanks so much. Yeah, no, we're friends now. Thanks, pal. You thought I was just here with my thumb up my ass for a second as I let my children wander like the chickens they sell at Whole Foods, free range.
Was your classroom empty?
Yes,
Because it was
empty.
your free period. And they were like,
I'm literally in the middle of like tracking down like misplaced purchase orders and like trying to round out like a financial report and like build transportation plans for nationals.
Where's your entire class?
Oh, so you're just not doing anything right now, Grant? I was like, oh no, when I'm not doing anything, I'm not here.
Yeah.
If you can't find me, it's because I'm now not doing anything, which also won't go on the record about, but I will say this. I will say this, okay? And you can't get any names out of me. I left campus today briefly during my plan period to go a couple blocks away to a bank because we were the awardees of a grant that I applied for.
Nice.
And they're just like, the fastest way to get you this money will be just to put it in your hands.
Check,
Come to this bank.
Yeah.
So I was like, dope. Came to this bank. Across the street from that bank, Trader Joe's. And I was like, I have 5 minutes.
It's efficiency.
It's certainly weird to run into two other teachers out of
Oh my God.
I'm like, with this check, we'll be heading back. I have this was today. I was like, I have district debate practice that I have to coordinate. I'm working till 6 today. Like, I'm here for like the afternoon snacks just to kind of get me through everything.
We didn't ask.
Like, is that your daughter? Like, where did
she come from?
pick up your chick? But none of us are going to say anything. That's when I'm not doing anything.
Yes. Before we left for that work trip, we saw Hadestown. Give us your opinion, Grant.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Partner also really enjoyed it. We've both been thinking a lot about it. I did for a extended period of time. Got a lot of TikToks from that cast. That was wonderful.
So I talked to Jacob this morning and he was like, it's like my feed knew I was waiting to see it. And now I'm just getting all of it. And then he had plot questions.
Well, I feel like you sent so much that it seeded my garden of my For You page.
My plan is working.
No, absolutely loved the play. It was phenomenal. Been thinking a lot about how the entire story obviously is a metaphor for grief.
Yes.
Grease. No. One big one.
It's grief and greed.
Grease. A metaphor for like knowing that you're never going to get that person back.
But celebrating it anyway.
Yeah. Like, I just thought it was like such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And then shout out to one of you one of our local listeners
Oh.
who messaged me on my personal Instagram and was like, hey, like, so I saw you at the show, but at first I was like, oh, what a cute, like, queer couple, which I get it. I love seeing other queers out in public and then leaning over to my boyfriend and going, gay.
Queer.
Yeah, or gay. Like
Yes.
gay, queer,
Yes.
whatever. So I totally get it. And then the listener in the message was like, and then like, I was like, oh, I actually know them. Anyways, you guys are really cute and I hope you enjoyed the show. And then I showed that message to my partner
no.
and he was like, that's really sweet. And also maybe a little creepy. And I was like,
he just give him a while. He'll get over it. It's fine.
Here's the thing. He is conventionally attractive and has always been conventionally attractive. And I'm like, okay, get over your weird privacy issue. They called us cute. Are you even reading the message?
Get over your whole privacy issue is what I think to you every time you're like, an app? I don't think so.
I have seen too much.
Okay. And I just want to be recognized as hot every once in a while, listener.
The organization that we...
Maybe I have a DM in my inbox. I haven't checked them in a week.
The organization
Yes.
for the work trip that we were
Yes.
just at, because I do so much work, my role actually comes with a stipend that gets paid out
Right.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So the person in charge of finances reached out to me and was like, we can't Venmo you. Here are your two options, Zelle or a paper check I put in the mail. Go and take a guess. Take half a guess which one I
Hey,
picked.
you don't even need to download an app for that. Zelle is connected to Chase.
Okay, I have just a credit card through Chase.
Yes, and you thus have an account with
Right.
Zelle.
That cash is designated
Jesus
for other
Christ.
accounts. So now I'm just very casually checking my mailbox every day.
Oh my God. I can't with you. I can't. I literally cannot.
Here's the thing. In this case, I'm not worried about Zelle stealing my privacy. I don't have the energy. I don't want to come up with a password or have to look up my routing number. Like,
You don't have
just
to.
drop
Whatever,
it in
it's
the
fine.
mail. Just drop it in. I didn't even want to read the instructions.
It would have taken you literally less time than collectively the amount of time you have spent thinking and or checking your mailbox
Okay,
for
but
this check.
Sometimes, and I know this aspect of my personality
Drives me fucking
infuriates you.
insane.
Sometimes it's nice just to have a
Jesus
nice little
Christ.
walk down to the mailbox on what is a beautiful day. But I have to check my mailbox anyways. It's not like this like
I literally
takes
can't
out
with you.
a thing that I wouldn't otherwise need to do.
I should have picked a sadder story for today. I want to bring him down, you know?
I'm coming, wait for me. But
Don't
it's me
fuck
to my
with me
check
right
in
now.
the mail.
And it's running away from you actively.
Zelle's standing there, arms open.
So Aileen and her wife are going to go see Hadestown this Sunday. It's, I think, the same cast that we saw just in Ohio.
Amazing.
And she texted me and was like, we'll have to catch up again, like, after I see Hadestown. And I was like, yeah, of course. And she was like, it's Greek mythology. Or can we still be friends if I don't like it? And I was like, that's crazy to say that. I think you're going to love it. And
So she hasn't played your Kahoot yet.
oh,
Is
I
that
sent
the
it to
issue?
her and her wife. And like, you can assign it, and so I could see their like progress as they were taking it. I don't think they're in the same place, but so her wife took it and it was like green, and like maybe like one or two red at the
Sure.
end. I was watching Aileen take it, half green, half red, and I was like, sweet baby angel.
Sounds like other members of our group.
Yeah. Anyway, so I made a little cheat sheet for her. I was like, really, all you need to know is the Persephone Hades myth. That's like, I feel like they do a decent job explaining it, but they also kind of really rely on you understanding
Yeah,
what's about
it doesn't
to
get a
happen.
lot of airtime in the
No,
storytelling.
it doesn't. Anyway, so
Actually, super
excited for her.
related to this. Obviously, Hadestown cast TikToks have been in my For You page. They moved on from Denver to
Yes.
the Midwest.
did you see the one of the guy who plays Orpheus at like 3 a.m. walking the streets of Denver to meet someone to buy a Pokemon card? I'm obsessed with it.
I love this city
He
in
had to
ways
take a
that
20-minute scooter.
that's how you do anything in the city. On your way to buy a house, drugs, drink too much at a brewery. Honestly, just don't want to get in an Uber.
Buying a Pokemon card. Fucking hysterical. Anyway, you saw a TikTok.
Well, could it really be a letdown now? But the cast has moved on from Denver and now they're in Midwestern cities at noticeably lower elevation.
Yeah,
and they're all making TikToks about how much easier it is
to breathe.
Yes, and how like one of them was even like after performing in Denver for like 10 days, not even that long. It's just so much easier to perform now in this leg of the trip. And I love feeling like a Colorado snob. Like it's one
incredible.
Of my favorite
like that,
things.
if you're like any artist ever that comes to Denver, it's like, whew, it's hard to breathe. Everyone in the audience is like, fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah. We all send the Instagrams to each other afterwards.
Yes.
Right?
We're like,
Cardi B can't breathe it.
Yeah.
Megan Thee Stallion can't breathe it here. We're like, yeah, they can't.
I overheard one of my like coworkers who's traveling here from somewhere else be like, yeah, I want to go for a run to see like how much the elevation actually affects me. And me and some other Colorado person were like,
it will.
don't tell him.
Or when people come here and like that first night are trying to keep up with their friends like at the bars or whatever and they can't, part of me is always like, God, like it's not even that hard. But then the other part of me is like, I mean, I don't know, is it?
There's nothing more of an ego boost than when you go back to sea level and can outdrink and
outrun.
Yes.
Everything.
I ran like a full like 3.5 miles while we were in that city. Like really not a break. And I was like huffing a little, but I was like, this is easy. I came back to run and I was like, no. Nope.
I'm not a runner.
Nope. Not a runner, not a track star. But I can run when there's oxygen. This episode
is brought to you by
my depression. Well, this story is not like, there's going to be some darker moments maybe at the beginning, but it is overall super lighthearted and heartwarming. There are some trigger warnings that I'll provide. Some of them are kind of vague just to like keep you from really cluing in on like what the story is. But we have some prejudice against minority races and identities, and then some vague mentions of domestic violence, rape, sexual assaults, physical abuse. Not like, we're not going to get graphic like at all, just mentioning that like that
just
happened.
Classic tags of a feel-good story.
Haha. I can't wait for you to know what it is. This story was so heartfelt and heartwarming that I went through a bit of a depressive episode, like the week before, I think, we were supposed to go on your work trip. And then so I ended up pushing recording to the day before we were supposed to see Hadestown. And even then I was like, it's not happening, because I don't know what it was, something about my depression. And then also trying to put together this story, it was like it was just not happening. I was like, I can't get behind this fucking guy right now. So here we are. This, dear listener, is probably the closest we have ever recorded to an episode being released. So this episode comes out in like 5 days or something like that. 6 days. It comes out in less than a week.
Like, I'm couching a fun announcement for you guys till next week.
Because he doesn't want his parents to find out
before I get a chance to tell them.
Yeah, it is. Like, this episode comes out a week from yesterday. So this is all very recent for us, and it's because your girl's depressed. Anyway, the beginning. Born in 1945 in Blackwater, Mississippi, he was part of a traditional Baptist family. Francois is his name. He was born to a family of sharecroppers and had a really rough childhood, but he was really close with his great-grandma, I think it's Laura May, and then his granddaddy, Saul. Him and Saul had such a close relationship when he was young that, like, Francois didn't really interact with people other than Saul. And Saul, in fact, he had a cane. He was, like, walking with a cane.
Nice.
And one of his tricks to help get Francois to, like, fall asleep as, like, a toddler would be, like, the cane will tell you stories, will like talk, only if you're like really quiet. And so Francois would get like really quiet, and sometimes he would just like fully fall asleep. Like, they'd be sitting outside and he would just fall asleep, and then he would be so mad at himself when he woke up, and he would be like, I'm gonna stay awake. And because the cane would tell him stories, but obviously what he now knows as an adult is it was Saul talking as if it was the cane. The cane would like sing with him and like tell him stories. Notably, obviously, I said this family is a family of sharecroppers. They are black and have a history in slavery. And so the cane would tell him stories of the legendary land of Afrique and like all of the warriors there.
Born in 1945, you said?
45, yeah.
Okay.
He was 4 at the time, and there was a bad storm that caused his family to need to escape this like torrential downpour and flooding in the area. And so they had to get to higher ground, which ended up being like Alabama is how far they had to travel because they're like so close to the banks or the ocean
levels,
or whatever. Yeah. So them and their whole huge family, they had like a homestead basically, escaped on foot, including all of the elders, and everyone was only really able to carry like a few special belongings. So like their Bibles, their like his cane, a few like small things. Granddaddy Saul was having a harder and harder time keeping up with everyone, especially as the ground got slicker and slicker. And so eventually the family was able to find a local farmer that allowed Saul to ride on the back of his wagon. At some point, there's more and more people joining them as everyone tries to like have an exodus out of Mississippi. Someone notices that Saul is not riding on that wagon anymore. And so they search around frantically and they couldn't find him, but they did find his cane. There were no hints at all, no body, no clothes, no anything. Francois was devastated. He's like 4 or 5, you know. He cried and he begged to get the cane for comfort. And in his despair, while they're like all sheltered down somewhere for the night, he begs the cane to tell him more stories of Afrique and sing to him. And obviously the cane doesn't. He doesn't eat. He just like sits around silently, hoping the cane will talk. And he listened. And so the matriarchs, including his grandma, that he's also very close with, managed to like plot to get the cane away from him for his own good. Not something he understood at the time, but after that, he went completely silent. This is the first time he ever sang in front of anyone who wasn't Saul or the cane. And he actually had like a decent, I mean, he's 4, but he has a decent voice. And so the family gets to Tuscaloosa. We're kind of speed running a lot of his childhood right now, and you'll find out why later. But they get to Tuscaloosa. They're going to settle down, but there's a bit of a serious domestic violence incident that occurs between his biological mother, Inez, and his biological father, Willie. And I'm not going to get into the details. Willie was the perpetrator. It lasted multiple days. In the end, there was like a butcher knife involved. Police got called. And eventually the matriarch of the family and grandma like gathers money and then sends Francois, his like siblings, and his mother, Inez, up to Youngstown, Ohio, to like, for their own safety, to like get away from this man. His family has always encouraged like members of the family to sing. Like they're a Baptist family, so they love that expression of like praising their deity. And his singing ability was what really was going to save him in this next like chapter of his life. So they moved to Ohio. Unfortunately for him, he could have had a pretty normal adolescent to preteen life, but Inez, I think maybe he's like late elementary school. Inez starts dating a man named Warren, who would become Francois's stepfather. Together, those two would have another daughter. But this man was really quiet, not like a huge personality. He was known to play the harmonica until he got drunk.
Okay.
And then he was incredibly violent with him and his siblings and his mother. And so for this reason, Francois started looking for activities outside of the house to engage in, basically as a sanctuary to escape from the volume and violence of his house. So he started singing for civic organizations, ladies groups, luncheon clubs, Kiwani meetings, Kiwani being a nonprofit for children, I believe. And then at some points he would even get paid for it, like $5 for an event. And he started to enjoy school more and more because he was like intentionally trying to stay out of the house and engage more. Importantly, he started singing at his church, which at this time was Mount Carmel Baptist Church. And he remembers one day specifically, his family went to the wedding of one of his cousins, Johnny May, and it was the first wedding he had ever been to. And he remembers just being like so in awe at all of his like family members and like community members getting all dressed up and like being together and celebrating. But he remembers so distinctly his heart stopping when he saw how beautiful his cousin Johnny May looked in her wedding dress. And so here is a quote. I have a lot of quotes for you today.
And this is Francois?
Yeah.
Even though I was only 5 years old, I knew that one day I would wear one of those dresses and look just as beautiful as my cousin. Later, when I told my mother my idea, she slapped me on the behind and told me not to be silly. Quote, "Boys don't wear wedding dresses," she said, and rolled her eyes at me. I tried not to show how disappointed I was and kept asking if I could be an exception. She emphatically refused. She and the church found my deepest desires to be unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. So you're starting to see where this is going, dear listener, right?
I'm excited.
Yeah. At this point, he was
I was very nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Until this exact moment.
The darkest, like in a lot of ways, the darkest parts are already kind of over.
Amazing.
Yes. So by this point, obviously, he doesn't have a real relationship with his biological father, and his relationship with his stepfather is getting increasingly difficult.
Sure.
And as any young Christian boy would do, he turns to the Bible for advice on how he can get his stepfather out of his life.
Don't we know it?
Yeah. Leaning heavily on the Old Testament, which, hey.
Wait, sorry. Let me run that by me. How to get his stepfather out of his life? See, here's the thing, and I think this is so curious. Listener, real quick, before quick 30 seconds on this. When Maya and I were texting today about logistics tonight, she was like, yeah, and I just want you to feel empowered to share your opinion often. Is that the wording you used?
Yes, I think so. Your experience.
And here's the thing. I think religion's different. What a profound thing to say. Wow, incredible. Different expressions of Christianity, I think, in the minds of the practitioners, endows Christianity with different abilities. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm chalking up a lot of this to my own personal belief and relationship. Lutheranism will see you through it, whereas some other religions, I think, view Christianity as just on the edge of magic, where it's we can get things to change through prayer. And maybe that is your belief, and I'm not trying to insist otherwise, but I feel had I gone to my youth minister with these concerns, he would point me to how the Bible could help me find space in my heart, not alakazam, now you're gone,
So for those of you who are atheist and are having trouble finding a hook in this is a quote that I pulled very last minute from one of the primary sources for this story is Francois' memoir, and I'll tell you the name of it much later. But this is a quote from him when he's, I think, a decent bit older. But he says, "When I look back on that early spiritual awakening, I realized that I was separating myself from any formal dogma or church. In my humility, I still struggled with the fact that I carried a powerful spirituality that had nothing to do with any organized religion." To be fair, he considers himself still religious today. He's still alive, but it's much more holistic in the way that I hear him talk about it. So he goes on to say, "I treated all religions the same, but also found no fault with agnostics, atheists, Unitarians, Christian Scientists, Mormons, Baha'is, Buddhist, religious scientists, earth goddess worshippers, Sikhs, Taoists, all manner of expression were fine with me. Time and time again, people wanted me to be a judgmental, fundamentalist Christian singer who hated a lot of regular people, and I just couldn't do it. I was not there. It was not who I am. My message is simply one of inclusiveness and love."
That's really sweet. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry if my comments earlier offended.
Good. I just wanted to set that out.
In this part of the story, it sounds like he's literally looking for a prayer spell to make this man disappear.
That's how I read it. And I thought that was funny. So he was relying heavily on the Old Testament to alakazam his stepfather out of his life.
Is that what you wrote or what you edited?
No, what I just now said.
Good, okay.
In fact, he carried a small Bible with him almost everywhere he went and always kind of had his nose in it. And so people thought he was reading and thinking about it all the time. And he was also kind of thinking about it all the time. But then he says, well, not all the time. Sometimes I would surprise myself when I realized I was thinking about boys.
Oh, nice. Hey, real quick, and I'm probably going to, who knows, going to try to stop interrupting so much. Did you ever get a Bible with your name engraved in on it?
I don't think so. I got my one of my granddad's old King Charles or King James versions, and then I got a fancy cover for a Bible, but I don't think I ever got a personalized one. In
my family, at least, and pretty common tradition.
Yeah, I think
on your confirmation you get a Bible with your name inscribed in it. And I remember as a child feeling so guilty because I literally had no want to open the book or to touch it. I put it on the shelf and I'm what a gift from my parents and grandparents.
It's an avocado.
No, 100%. And I was God, I feel kind of bad about that. And then I've gotten a little bit older and I'm if I wanted a child to get really into a book that I liked,
Wouldn't be
but
giving
not,
it to him.
Yeah, no, the books we like. Literally today in class, we started talking about the summer reading assignments, and one child asked if Heated Rivalry could be their reading assignment. And
No.
I know they know I know they were joking, but I also know for a fact that if I said, yeah, sure, they would not have asked more questions. They would have said, amazing. As I've gotten older, I'm like, if there's a book that I'm really liking that I want a child to read, yeah, I would probably get them a free version of it and put their name on it and just see what happens, you know? It's not like they gave me any assessments about it afterwards.
No, that's true.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So while no one ever directly told Francois about sexual identity and named, like, this is what you're feeling, he remembers hearing the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and that men sleeping with men was an abomination, which is like a mistranslation, but whatever. When he wondered about his warm feelings towards one of his male buddies, he wondered out loud with a different buddy, and that buddy told him to quickly stop thinking about that.
Yep.
And so he prayed and stopped thinking about that.
Or just prayed.
Yeah. But meanwhile, his singing talent continued to develop, and he transitioned from like his voice deepened into a tenor voice, which is the highest of the male voices. And, well, technically, but whatever. Okay. And he continued singing in school choir and church choir, but also started singing on variety shows and in talent competitions. And he earned the nickname Bluebird or Moon River. Never mentioned again in the story, by the way.
Okay.
And then he secretly started a boys rock and roll singing group with 6 of his guy friends. They named it the Jokers. He had to hide everything about it from his family because he was not allowed to sing secular music. But so like they had to buy like matching red shirts and even hid those at a friend's house. But they would practice together on like their walks home from school.
There was a time in this country when you just had 6 male friends who would say yes to being in a band, not 6 male friends, period.
Yeah. Male loneliness epidemic.
Male loneliness epidemic, statistically fabricated to sell you more creatine powder, but still interesting.
And also just the fact that men don't know how to fucking talk to each
Also,
other.
men can be in crisis without loneliness being the issue. Men can be in crisis because there's like a liberal, proudly unintelligent like aspect to like male culture, whatever. Not the episode.
No. But anyway, one of the boys in his group was a boy named Hiawatha. Hiawatha, this is a quote, Hiawatha was dark, handsome, and 6 feet tall, even in junior high.
That was from Francois' book?
Yes.
Yep, nice.
Continued, I felt he had a sweet baritone and even sweeter lips. I could have sung with him forever. There's a scene that he writes about where him and Hiawatha are like in, I think, Hiawatha's room together, and they had been practicing and stuff, and at some point, Francois tries like to like grind up on Hiawatha, and Hiawatha is like, that we only do that with girls. And Francois went,
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure. Shut.
I actually so completely, totally understand that experience because I was in 7th grade middle school choir with me and all the other boys in that class pretending to be straight watching High School Musical when it first came out. Like the lies on the lies. Ma. Yeah, exactly.
There's a line in here that I was like, is this Grant? Am I just reading about Grant? Aside from the fact that this is a black man born in 1945, am I reading about Grant?
It's a universal story, what can I say?
Yeah. So this boy band group, the Jokers, lasted about 3 years. They did get some paid gigs together. Unfortunately, what really broke them up was the fact that he was the only black man in this black boy in this group. And he was actually one of the few black boys in their school, like totally. And at one point, him and some of the other boys went to go meet one of their friends at his Ukrainian Catholic church. And they were just like waiting for like the service to be over. I think maybe that kid was singing in the choir or something. At some point, one of the religious leaders approached the group and told him specifically that he had to leave because he was not
black.
welcome for being black. Another instance, he was going to a local hangout or like club of sorts. And when him and his friend got there and got to the door, the bouncer told them that the cover was $5, but your friend can't come in, and Francois was told that he should come back on night. Yeah, so that's fucking cool. Anyway, this next section is called Ticket Out. He luckily met Mrs. Mary Lou Phillips, who had come by the house to interview his stepfather for approval for Social Security, which was called at the time in Ohio Aid for the aged.
Okay. I mean, I love an alliteration. Aid for the
I
aged.
can see why it changed. So, some bitch was like, are you calling me old? Because that's how I felt. Anyway, he then got the chance to sing for her at this house. I think what happened is his mom came down and was like, this is my son who sings, and sing for her. And so he sang for her, and she was like, you have to come to my church and meet the organist and choir master at our church, which is St. John's Episcopal. His name is Ron Gold. Professor Ron Gold and Mary Lou were both white, and Francois, remembers that sometimes talking to them felt like talking to aliens just because of their different backgrounds, you know? Mary Lou actually offered to pay for Francois's voice lessons with Ron Gould. That's how much she like appreciated his voice at the time. Ron and his wife, Marcia, would serve as an escape for Francois when his home would get too violent or too loud, and they welcomed him every time. He eventually stopped singing at his family's Baptist church, and the reason he cited when telling his like family was that this new church, white church, could pay him $25 per Sunday, which, I mean, he didn't get an allowance. He didn't have a job. So like, that's not nothing. And under Ron's instruction, now he's taking lessons several times a week as he begins to age. Francois begins to look into getting into music in college, like going to school for vocal performance, something that Ron is encouraging. And his home life is getting worse and worse. And so he's really just like throwing himself all into this whole music endeavor.
Get me out.
Get me out. And he did the thing it seems every gay boy does when they're young and religious.
Moved to California.
He assumed his siblings were still pure and not having sex, even though there was more and more talk, like the older he got, among his like friends about who's hooking up with who. His illusion was shattered when he found out his 15-year-old sister was pregnant. I have another quote for you. It just reminds me of the Caleb Heron thing that's like, I thought I was going to see you in heaven, but I guess not.
I'm laughing at you dropping the iPad on your face.
Yeah. I don't know why you're surprised.
This box right here.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you scrolled or anything with your face or not.
Shut the hell up.
Quote from Francois. In spite of everything I heard, I really know as little or nothing about sex and still believed on some level that the stork was a central character in the process of procreation. I wanted to believe in the stork. I was a stubborn Taurus who...
It gets worse from here, babe.
I was a stubborn Taurus who wanted to be clean and wholesome and angelic for God, so I clung to my fantasy. Sorry that us Tauruses aren't like trying to be corrupted by the world.
Look at you now. Look in a mirror. I said what I said. A little sad note for a second. His sister who got pregnant, it was not her choice.
Oh.
It was one of the leaders at their Baptist church who ended up having to move to a different fucking church after the pregnancy was announced.
That'll solve everything.
Yeah, 100%. And at this point, he's so disillusioned, especially from that church, that he vows, and also from the idea of sex itself, that he resolves to be abstinent and also never go back to that church.
Okay, so kind of two paths diverge in the woods, and I chose both.
Yeah, he did. Even though he was not short on options when it came to romantic pursuits.
Women, though, right?
Yeah, the women. Yeah, because
he was pretty, could sing, and was non-threatening.
Yeah, as someone who did have an unrequited crush on several gay men in high school, can confirm the singing voice will do it.
One of the first people I came out to, I was like,
you should
I'm
know.
gay.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And then like 2 days later, I was like, so did you know? Before I told you, did you know? And my friend was like, yeah, I suspected for sure. And I go, what was I doing that would make you? I'm definitely like, where do I need to pick up the ball?
What do I need to
where am I
improve?
dropping it? And she said something that has stuck with me forever. She goes, Grant, you're one of the few men who I'm not afraid to be alone with.
Ooh.
And she was like, when I realized I didn't feel threatened by you, I then also realized it's because I knew you did not want to have sex with me. And I was like, well, I guess there's no fucking programming around that.
It is like intrinsically coded.
Yeah. I was like, I think this is a compliment. Yeah, this is a compliment. Yeah, this is a compliment.
Here's a quote from Francois. I was set on being a virgin when I married, and dating cost money. I preferred to spend my money on music. Tyler?
I don't mean to keep interrupting, but this story is just like a play-by-play. I had an uncle. We don't need to say from what side of the family, but those who listen know. And I'm at an age where this is a crazy thing to be saying to me. Middle school, but early, like maybe 10, 11, maybe 12. And an uncle said, they came out with a survey recently that said less than 40% of young people plan to be virgins when they got married. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
And I remember being like, I don't know, Uncle. I've literally never thought about that ever before.
Not once. Not a single time. Never.
Certainly never thought I'd be talking to my uncle
about it.
At Christmas. This is crazy.
Uncles
dinner
really
time.
just do be like that, don't
Because
they?
I'm going to be that way, but like in a funny way, you know?
Yes.
How many of your friends are smoking real cigarettes? Give me that number. Do a head count.
I'll be smoking the cigarettes with them, so.
You'll be outside in the window. Yeah, get a head count.
Yeah.
We'd love to know.
Not cigarettes, but you get the drift.
Continue.
Around this time, the grandmother that he had been close with as a child passed away. And then also his older brother, who was kind of the buffer between him and his stepfather, went off to join the military. And then the two sisters, they were twins. One of them got pregnant. Basically, both of them got removed from the household. And I maybe in like a Muslim house. I don't know. They essentially got put in like foster care system or whatever. It doesn't, from the way that I read it, doesn't seem like Francois really was that upset about it. Like, I think he understood why that happened and agreed with it. He was also allowed to go visit his sisters, but he was trying to convince them to like make something of themselves, and they were not. And so their relationship just kind of
or their version of it was different than what he wanted their version to
so
be.
He never had a tight relationship with, I think, any of his siblings. So anyway, during his senior year, I don't think he's the only child in the household. I do believe he has that half sister that's probably very young still at this point, but he gets really fed up with the violence that's happening at home. There is one particular beating that happens to him that leaves him feeling the effects of it for months.
Wow.
During this time of months, he talks to his friend Elaine Logan about it, and she said that her parents would love him and would happily take him in. I think her father was maybe the reverend at the white church. And so one Saturday, while his mother and stepfather were out, he called up Elaine, and she came by and picked him up and all of his belongings. And he remembers that life in this household was very different. And you might start having questions about logistics. Basically, what happens later, like months later, is that his parents go to the school and like pull him aside and are like, why aren't you living with your parents? And he tries to tell them like, that man put his hands on me, and they don't believe him. And he is able to lift up his shirt and show like the marks that are still there. And so the school is like, yeah, go home with the Logans. Like, you can stay with them. Yeah. And so he remembers life in this household was very different. Everyone went to bed early, no exceptions. And everyone got up when Miss Logan called them. Quote, she never had to call me twice. I didn't want to do anything to change my good relationship with her. So I went to bed early, and I got used to being awakened whenever she called. However, I was rarely up before I had to be. I liked my sleep. But I also...
This man's gay.
Yeah. But I also liked the attention. This man's gay.
This man's gay.
But also, this is really sad. It was like someone wanted me to get up and be with them and share in family things.
Really glad I got that comment in before.
I know, I was like, that's fine, Grant.
Oh, God.
So he's actually like excelling academically. He's been, I think he says he's not on the honor roll like this year, but he like has been. He's always kind of done well academically and is known around school for having a great voice and taking voice lessons. And despite all of this, when he goes into like the college career counselors or whatever to like be like, this is where I want to go, how do I apply? And like they help you get connected and whatever. He goes into them and tells them, I want to apply to Oberlin College, which is like the operatic conservatory, on the advice of like my vocal teacher. And in case like I get in and I don't get a scholarship so I can't afford it, I'm also going to apply to all these state schools. And they basically said, hold on. We don't think like a boy of your background should be doing that. We don't want you to set yourself up for failure. we really recommend that you should go to these vocational schools to like guarantee that you always have a job. It was just like, I don't know why I'm surprised. Like, we still do that shit today, but like, I'm still disappointed, you know? And he remembers being like, I remember the other like colored children saying the same, that was going to happen, but I didn't think it would happen to me because I was doing so well academically.
Right.
I thought they would take me seriously. And he remembers just like being so infuriated that he literally just got up and walked out.
Good for him.
And then applied to Oberlin by himself. So luckily he got accepted to Oberlin, contingent upon passing another live audition. He had already done one, so this was the second one. That was music theory and sight singing. And one of the school admins who luckily like did believe in him, and I think was there when he had to like show his like the marks that he had, was an alumni of Oberlin and invited him to sing for an alumni group he was a part of.
Okay.
And this man, his name was Mr. Tear, also talked to that group and got them to grant him a full scholarship, including room and board. And they only asked in return that he return home every spring to give a performance at their annual spring meeting.
So adorable.
God. Okay.
Back when this country you could buy a house with like some blueberries, they're like, you to call to college and just sing for us every now and then.
Did you? I think I told you this. I overheard like these two older ladies. I think I was at a doctor's appointment talking about like, I remember when cars were more expensive than houses. And I went, what the fuck?
I have thought about it a lot since you told me that what you overheard.
What did you just fucking say to me? Anyway, his senior superlative that he didn't choose, obviously, it was like given to him. Most likely to succeed and most studious in his class.
Good for him.
I know, despite the counselors being like
Can
a plumber.
I like really don't know who this is.
I'm so happy about that. It's every once in a while, you just really pull one over Grant's head, and it's so satisfying, you guys. So he was accepted to Oberlin, set to start September of 1963, and he got a job at KFC as a short order cook to help make ends meet while he's there. One summer, I believe it might be like between freshman and sophomore year, or it might be like before he leaves for freshman year, he's in Ohio and he meets the Beechwood family. Specifically, he meets Michael Beechwood, who is their son. And basically, the Logan family that he had been staying with brought him to like a performance of like a play or a musical or something. And he got to meet the assistant director, which was Helen, who was Michael's mother. He ends up talking to them, and she's like, she used to be an opera singer, and like they used to go to like the Met in New York City to watch all these operas. And so Michael has all these experiences of being in New York City, and Michael was quick to share with Francois all of his memories vacationing there, and they stayed up like super late, and they're like talking, and Francois is just like absolutely captivated by like everything he's saying, and he doesn't even see it coming when Michael just kisses him.
Nice. The virgin gets kissed.
Yeah.
But I'm Josie Grossi.
Yes, cooties. Francois freaked the fuck out, got out of the room, and was like, gotta go to bed. And
how dare you kiss my gay ass?
And he remembers looking at Michael and just like this absolutely like heartbroken, like longing face. And so when he gets back to the room, Michael is gone, and so he
connection to Michael is what again? Just like a friend of a friend.
This is like it's the Logan's family friend.
Gotcha.
I think their son.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he's able to stay with the Beechwoods because I think they're like mentoring him a little bit. Whatever.
Sure.
He goes to sleep. And he remembers it, but he remembers Michael crawling into bed with him, and Francois like pulls him into his arms, and he like remembers that was happening and was like 100% okay with it. There was just like not that filter of like, holy shit, I shouldn't do this. This is gay.
Right.
Helen, Michael's mother, wakes Francois up in the next morning to take him back to Oberlin.
Helen Beechwood,
the
Michael's
mother.
mom.
Yes.
Okay.
And Francois is freaking the fuck out because Michael still asleep next to him. And so Helen is just like, hey, we gotta go.
Time to go to college.
Yes.
And it's 1963?
Yes. And so he's like freaking out. Helen's like just super fucking chill. And it's just like, I hope he was okay for you. Like he used to like kick a lot when he used to climb into bed with like me and my husband. And Francois was like, yeah, he was fine. What the fuck is going on?
What do you know?
And Helen is like, we know more than he thinks we know.
Aww,
and like,
but we're just giving him his time.
He just said, she legitimately says, we just want him to be happy. The only thing I ask is that if you're not interested in him, not to lead him on.
Shut up.
In the 60s?
Helen, early 60s.
I know.
Good for her.
But otherwise she had like no issue finding them like
Amazing.
cuddled up together. I was like, so anyway, he continues like going and spending time with them, having dinner at their houses.
Yeah, he does.
Francois is super vague in his memoir about the language, so it's like kind of clear later on that they like maybe hook up, but it's never like stated. And then much later in the book, it's
Classy.
like Michael, the man I first had sex with. And it was like, okay, so cool, that did happen.
Michael, you know Michael from Pound Town. So
And him and Michael will continue to have like a pretty, not necessarily a romantic relationship.
but not a romantic
No,
relationship.
but they will stay close for like the majority of their adult lives.
Tender,
Yes. And so when eventually, of course, word gets back to his family.
His like actual family or the
Francois'
Logans?
family.
Okay.
Yeah, so his mom Inez and stepfather Warren.
Gets back to his family what? That he and Michael are kind of seeing each other?
That someone was like, I think maybe your son is, a little homosexual. And so he's staying at the Logans, and his family finds him at the Logans and like literally take him out of the house. The Logans are like, no, don't. And he's like, no, like, don't get involved. And Warren takes him to a brothel and hires someone to quote unquote deflower him.
Literally so gross.
Literally fucking disgusting, especially that Warren had to be like, I'm waiting for my paycheck. I need you to do me a favor, to like the madam of this.
Takes out an advance
Yeah.
to have his son heterosexually laid.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
And so he walks into the room. The like madam is like, what do you pick one, you know? And Francois is just like so uncomfortable and so like scared that he can't do anything. And so the woman just like sends this sex worker up with him that they called Lil Bit, and they go upstairs to a room. Lil Bit tries to get him to like sit down, and he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and she's like, okay, I guess. And then he hops out the window and runs back to the beach
Good
woods.
for him. To the beach woods.
Yes, to
Go
Michael.
back to your man.
Yeah, go
Get back to your man,
Michael.
Francois.
Anyway, he like wants to like communicate his gratitude to the Logans, but he's like, I hope you understand why I can't continue staying with you, because I don't want my family to like keep being able to track me down, and I also don't want them to keep harassing you, you know. So
Yeah. But also, isn't he a college student at this age now?
yeah, but he was like spending
summers
summers
and stuff,
yeah. So at the end of his first year at Oberlin, so that must have been during his freshman year. End of his first year, he happened to meet another black gay man named Charles Angus. This was the first man, I think, Francois definitely was like, okay. And they like hung out a bit. And then at some point, they're like sitting in a diner like super late at night, and Charles starts talking about his girlfriends. And he's like, and then quote, the next day as I lay in bed in the early morning sun, I was grateful that Charles hadn't snored. Parts of my body were tired and other parts were rejoicing. I pushed away the last vestiges of Christian guilt and apology from my mind. If I couldn't enjoy this feeling, what could I enjoy?
That's actually so crazy healthy. Like that's in one night I walked the long journey of internalized homophobia and said, you know what? I like sex.
Now that
that's actually so crazy.
like, yeah. Anyway, his mom ends up coming to visit him like a few days after that instance, and after she leaves, sends him a letter. After she leaves, I think Francois is kind of like relieved and is like, she still like wants to see me, like she still accepts me. The letter comes and it says no child of mine should be gay, and like desperately tries to get him to come home where she can like pray over him and like keep him from the lives of sin.
Having such a sterling parenting record so far.
Yes, correct. And she also gives him the phone number of the girl that he took to prom. I think LaTanya was her name, and was like, she keeps asking after you. You have to call her. And he was like,
I'm not gonna do it here.
anyway. Okay, I have.
Here's the thing. Honestly, good for him. Like, have the family be the one that causes the break. And the idea that you wouldn't accept like this talented, college-educated son because of his sexuality
Is nuts.
certainly
Like
a choice.
Child that has such an immense talent that people are willing to pay for him to get this like incredible education at this
Right.
incredible vocal school.
Getting laid all the time for the early 60s as a gay person.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I have. This is going to look like a lot of highlighting. I don't even know if I'm going to share this. I just think this is fucking hysterical. So, Charles Angus is not the first gay man he meets at Oberlin.
Okay.
There's another gay man named Glover. or Glover, I think.
Okay.
But everyone, like, he's not attracted to him. And I think part of
Francois is not attracted to Glover, or
Yes.
the other way around?
Glover kind of hits on everyone, and so everyone kind of knows what's going on with him. And I think that's part of
Gotcha.
why Francois kept his distance, because he didn't want to be associated.
With a slut.
Yeah. At some point, Glover spots Charles and Francois saying goodbye to each other outside of a practice room. And you just have to read the highlighted parts.
Okay, great. So this is like kind of from Glover's POV.
This is just his perception of what happened, but yeah.
Glover happened by. As he rounded the corner, he saw us being Francois and Charles Angus. He saw us standing very close as we murmured last endearments before parting. I recognized his gait as he moved silently, almost floating, down the hall towards us, and then suddenly stopped. Very dramatically and exaggeratedly, he just turned and stared at us, seeming to look right through us. Charles Angus panicked and made a hasty retreat. I deeply resented this rude interruption. Before I had time to think or say anything, he proclaimed in a loud, clear voice for all the world to hear, "Honey, what y'all doing?" He asked us very slowly and carefully, exaggerating his southern accent. Ordinarily, he spoke very elegant English, but with the barest southern intonation. But now he continued his resonant announcement in full southern. "Now, you know very well I know what y'all been doing." I screamed inside, "Please stop this nightmare." I thought my heart would stop from fright. My mind raced 1,000 miles a minute. I knew I could no longer conceal my heart's love. Reluctantly, I paused, gave a swooping mock bow, and smiled. Mustering as much charm as I could, I graciously invited Glover into my practice room. The alternative was his resounding baritone announcing my secret courtship to everybody. Accepting my invitation, he moved in dramatically. He sat down at the piano, absorbing all the air around him. He sat high and regally erect, facing the door, like a queen taking her throne. After a moment's pause, I tried to challenge him. "What are you talking about, Chile?" Also maybe Child. Okay. Yeah. "What are you talking about, Child?" I struggled to put on my most serene face. "Don't child me, Miss Honey," he shot back. "I know exactly what y'all been up to. This is not the first time. I've seen what y'all are doing. Down home, we call it on the down low."
I'm obsessed with him so much.
He stopped to let that sink in. I did not let on that this was the first time anyone had called me Miss anything. It had a strange feeling, not altogether objectionable, as though I were now in some exclusive club. Now I was officially gay. Miss Glover, the Queen of Oberlin, had proclaimed it. On the down low, what do you mean by that? I really didn't know. He jumped right in with the full explanation. It's when somebody wants a whole lot of and maybe more. Like some boy... Why do you make me read this? Like some boy and male lovin'. But don't want nobody to know about it. Oh yes, Miss Honey, I know what I'm talking about. We have lots of them down there. Sometimes we call it being in the closet. There's more.
Yeah, just the highlighted.
I've never heard of such a thing. I stammered. Happens all the time, chow, he said with satisfaction. I could tell you about lots of them, black and white. How nothing has nothing to do with race, honey. The look on his face told me he was enjoying this conversation very much. I had stopped trying to conceal my surprise. I settled in to listen even more. Oh yes, Miss Thing. Sometimes it's the preacher, or the deacons, or the judge and the police chief. You name it. Whole lot of them want... Why do you make me read these? Down home, they were constantly pulling after me once they knew that I was gay and not trying to hide it. Child, suitors come out of the woodwork. Well, you might as well go on and admit it. I know what I saw. Well, yes, I managed weakly. But Charles Angus doesn't want anyone to know. I really don't want anyone to know either. My mother would kill me. She's already down on me about getting married and all. I know what I've been doing. but I've never heard it called the down low. It doesn't matter what y'all call it or anybody else calls it, honey. He ain't right for you. You don't need to be sneaking around with Charles Angus. Charles Angus is looking out for number one, himself, and that excludes you. How is he in bed, Miss Honey? He looks like he could have some... I feel like this entire episode was just for this moment, and you found a way to justify it.
I found this quote today.
How is he in bed, Miss Honey? He looks like he could have some real meat, child. How is it? GP, I gasped. He'd kill me if I told you that. It's personal. Either you tell me everything, or I'll tell everybody everything. Just watch me and see if I don't. He threatened more convincingly.
And so the two have like a kiki session about
first ever, I guess.
Yeah, how Charles is in bed, and Francois remembers. Also, great job reading. I made you read a lot. That was great.
I'm like halfway through, I was like, I really could do audiobooks. And then I was like, he looks like he has some real meat. Child. Also, it's like when your English teacher has to read aloud in class and it's not in the like speaking pattern that they use normally. I'm over here like, okay, Miss Honey, child, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm the whitest man to possibly be reading this right now. Mm-hmm. It was a fun section though, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna
being like, I know what I saw is so funny to me. And also him being like, he's looking out for number one and that's not you. It's like I could tell Tyler that right now. I don't even know who I would be talking about, but I know I could tell him right now. My next bullet is this man is Grant. Shortly after this, just to end that relationship up, Glover says something to Charles that freaks Charles out, and he's just like, I just think we should stop seeing each other because I don't really want anybody else.
Because so Glover's like, I know. And Charles is like, how dare you tell him?
It's not even that. It's literally that Glover is like giving him a weird look, and Charles is like, he knows.
He figured it out.
Yeah. So the next quote is, I had learned early on that many men were susceptible to flattery and genuine interest of their admirers. I studied sports and followed them in magazines and on television. I frequently impressed the guys with my knowledge and enthusiasm. Anyway, then he talks about, quote unquote, embracing the quote unquote straight co-captain of the football team in the locker room after the game.
What is
Nicholas Galossi.
What is he doing in the locker room after the big game?
Well, he made friends with all of the football players by talking sports to them, and
I bet he did.
Nicholas is actively dating a woman named Allison.
So how long is this embrace?
They keep embracing for the next several decades.
Oh, hot. Like hot again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a very charming quote from him later.
Good for them.
It's really cute. He does still keep dating Allison, though. So, unfortunately, the 60s are like what's happening in America.
Yeah, great question. You have like this counterculture revolution, but also then like a push back against that counterculture revolution. I mean, Vietnam War ramping up, but you also have like the beginning of like kind of like young people's disillusionment with middle class. Basically, like the short, like shotgun version. People went off and fought World War II or like worked in the factories. The whole society is geared towards winning World War II, which mass traumatizing event.
Yep.
And so the people who were like young and directly responsible for that were like, I would love predictability and stability as much as possible, as well as like relatively speaking, like decent economic growth. Yeah. And so that's what they build. They build like the suburbs. And then their kids are like, this fucking sucks.
And all move back to the city.
I will suffocate if I stay out here. And so I want to go over there where there's like maybe some diversity and drugs. And, you know, and obviously like these are big, you know, painting, you know, whatever, right? Nancy Reagan's relatively young in the 60s. And no one's like flower child Nancy Reagan, you know?
It's true. So when it comes to the draft, and you did an episode on the draft called Hit, Stay, Pray. If you get draft board status 1A, what does that mean?
Ooh, yours was the very first one drawn, which means you are going.
Yep, you're going. So Francois gets 1A.
That's really tough.
And he's talking with like his like the Beechwoods and the Logans and all of his mentors, and he's like, what do? I like cannot go. And they're like, well, you could be a conscientious objector. Like that's absolutely something that you could do. And his other option is to tell the board that he's gay. And so he's in between those. He goes...
Two really good options.
I know!
I could stand on principles here. I could stand on principles.
So during the interview, while he's at the like office, which I guess is like done in a room with like a bunch of other people that are getting drafted and also in like various states of undress while they do the physicals on you.
Right.
They like ask the questions out loud and he just has to shout across the room to the interviewer, yes, I have had homosexual feelings for men in the past.
Amazing.
He gets sent to the GCOM line. GCOM standing for Gay Conscientious Objector Medical.
And that's for me and all the other girls who walked the mile in PER.
Yeah. Anyway, this is him about his senior year in Oberlin.
Yeah, I bet he had suitors. Damn.
I know. He's a cutie.
Yes. Shit.
And has an incredible voice. Graduation is approaching, and he is advised to consider grad school. He feels like time is running out for him for some reason. And all of his friends are kind of going to grad school to do more music stuff.
I think today we call that just a quarter life crisis.
Yes, exactly. He feels like he doesn't have time. And also he's like, but the money, like, I don't have that to like go to grad school. And I just want to get my career going. I want to get out on my feet. I want to support myself. But basically everyone in his life is like, you should wait to let your voice fully develop. If you don't know, people's vocal cords don't usually fully develop until like 25 to 30 years old.
Right.
And he's doing opera. And so like that extra time could actually be really crucial. There are examples of people who go out and push too hard too early and then fuck up their vocal cords forever. And so that's what he's up against. And basically he talks to the Beechwoods and the Beechwoods are like, no, absolutely go do that. We will pay for it. Like, don't even think about it. And so he gets into a grad program in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon.
Good for him.
It was called Carnegie Tech at the time, but then he started in 1967 to get his master's. He gets a full ride. I'm not sure if that's the Beechwoods or a different source, but that required him to also find a church job, like singing at a church or something to help him pay for living expenses. And he gets a job singing for John Lively at Third Presbyterian Church. And it's at this gig he meets a woman named Joanne, who is maybe the most important person he's going to meet in his entire life. And that after the break.
Okay.
You don't know where this is going.
I have no idea.
I'm so happy.
I even like stealthily read at the top of the page, Officer Clemmons, and I was like, okay, I don't know who this is.
I have so much joy in my heart right now. Okay. You still have no guesses?
Not really, no.
Incredible.
But he meets someone named Joanne. That's going to change his life.
Joanne.
Okay.
So,
if they start a fabric store together, I'm going to be so charmed.
Wow, I should really look into that. So Joanne is hilarious, bubbly, witty, kind. Francois, so much so that Francois is singing in this choir at the First Presbyterian, and he would intentionally sit as close as he could to the altos, which was Joanne's voice part, so that he could listen to what Joanne and what the other gals were all kikiing about.
Adorable.
And eventually they actually sat next to each other and developed their own banter and inside jokes. Francois wanted to know more about her background, and so he asked John Lively, which was like his trusted adult at this point. I don't think he wanted to like just ask Joanne. So like, what's your deal? John was like, oh, Joanne's husband is Fred. And Francois was like, and John was like, as if like he should know. And so anyway, Joanne and John like conspired to make sure that Francois and Fred would meet in person and then arranged a lunch for them.
Say that again.
Joanne and John made sure that Francois and Fred would meet.
Fred being Joanne's husband?
Yes. Yes.
That Fred and Francois would get a chance to meet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think essentially Francois did like an opera and then they were like, Fred, that's Francois. And then Fred like introduced himself. They got lunch and Joanne and John were like, anyway, that's so fun. Okay, bye, you two, have fun. And Fred is a composer and arranger for his own music on a new television show. Fred had helped start the first community-sponsored television station in the country. And after lunch, Fred invited Francois to come to a TV station where he was filming on the set. And the set was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood at the precursor to PBS WQED. Francois remembers staying all afternoon at the set.
You're a sneaky bitch. You know that, right? Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Francois remembers that he stayed all afternoon because he just like legitimately didn't want to leave.
Sure.
Like Fred was such a good conversationalist. He felt like seen and understood by this man. And Francois remembers the entire meeting with Fred. He had never felt so seen, so heard, so understood. He felt loved and protected on set. And so he was like, I want to stay here. So anyway, today we're talking about François Clemmons, a.k.a. Officer Clemmons.
Halfway through the episode, we're like, here's the title.
Yeah. Are you upset about it?
No, not at all.
Basically, at first, I like literally Googled, I was like, lawful, good, most lawful good person in history. And it was like, I don't remember who else, but it was like Fred Rogers. And I was like, interesting. So I started doing that. And then it was like literally 2 or 3 days before we left for your work trip where I was like, wait a minute. I could go at it from that angle because he's a police officer on the TV show, and that's more lawful good. In case he was like, I thought that's what you. Okay, whatever.
You're like, I've cracked this case wide open.
The two main sources for this were a 2018 documentary titled "Won't You Be My Neighbor," and then a 2020 book titled "Officer Clemmons: A Memoir," which was written by François Clemmons himself. Also, the Fred Rogers Institute, NPR, WQED, New York Times, the Stay Kind pod, which I have like one very specific reference to that we'll talk about later, and then CBS and a number of others to just like fill in some blanks. So let's backtrack, rewind just a tad, just to talk about Fred's background, because it does fill in quite a bit. So do you know anything about Fred Rogers or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Yes. I mean, yes. And
Yes.
also a little bit about what makes his friendship with Francois so special. I mean, Fred Rogers, a kind of pioneer of educational programming for children, convinced Congress to fund the the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Convince them not to cut funding.
Right. Side note, kind of, I know some families today will pull up old Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episodes on YouTube for their kids. And so instead of showing them Cocomelon, we'll show like a slow and...
I wish my parents had done that, because the way I was fucking crying watching some of these clips to the point where I'm just like, why did that generation turn out so fucked? They were like...
Well, I mean, like, I was watching tail end of it. Like, I remember that, and like Sesame Street, and there being shows we were and weren't allowed to watch, even until like my teenage years, where like maybe it became censorship, but I don't know. Like, I get the decision from my parents at the time. Yeah, just like a very calm, very safe space
chill
to view it today, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, without all of the intense stimuli and distractions that we have.
I felt my blood pressure go down when I watched like a few episodes just like get a vibe for it. But yeah, so anyway, Fred had the very unusual experience of remembering with a lot more clarity, I think, than most people, what his experience was like as a young child, like 7 to 8 specifically. Because not to say it was traumatic, not nearly as traumatic as Francois, which is why he remembers his childhood so vividly. But Fred was incredibly sickly. He had scarlet fever, amongst other things, and spent a lot of time by himself in quarantine, and so would use his own imagination to entertain himself. He would like create these characters in his head, and he kind of remember like visualizing what those characters would look like as they were like sitting on his bed with him. And he was also a bit of a bigger child, and so he got bullied and had a lot of trouble making friends. He used to have a laugh track as a child, which was a physical record. And he liked to play it because he liked that he could make the laugh start and stop when he wanted, that he could have control over that. He said, quote, "For someone who hated to be laughed at, it sure felt good to be in control at least this laughter." Oh my God. Anyway, he studied music composition at Rollins College in Florida with plans to go on to pursue studies in theology afterwards. At Rollins, he met Joanne Bird, who he would marry in 1952. This is them.
No, I know. They're so adorable.
They're so cute.
Do you know, because we've actually mined his career, his worldview, some of his quotes, his actions for several speeches my students have written on all sorts of things. Are you going to talk about what he did when he accepted the Lifetime Achievement Award?
No, but that was something you could say.
So precious. Yeah. He goes up there to accept this Lifetime Achievement Award. People are already crying. And he was like, I would like us all to take just a minute of time to think about a person that helped us get to where we are right now. I'll keep the time. And then at his own like Lifetime Achievement Awards, like acceptance speech, there's just 10 seconds of total silence. And then he ends it with how special those people must feel to know that we believe they made a difference in our lives.
They do that at the end of the documentary.
Yeah, how dare you make me get a second drink at the start of this? I'm like misty-eyed right now.
He is truly like the purest soul. Like I don't understand. He literally, because he does that. They do that with all of the people that are being interviewed at the end of this documentary, and you just watch all these people as they think about who has like impacted them in their lives, and then they ask him like, would you like to share like who it was? And like they like talk about it, and some of them have like started crying. And
I'm just also imagining you trying to do this story
depressed.
while depressed.
Yeah, because I hadn't found the Officer Clemmons side of this while I was in that depression. So I kept pulling up sources, and I was like, "Fuck this guy!"
Like that,
filled with fucking positivity.
That's
Does it make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Because every time I started looking at things, I started like tearing up. I was like, I took the dogs for a walk in Golden when I did like the first watch of the documentary while I was like listening to it, and I was like, fuck this guy. Like, honestly, like I can't.
Like, so good. So
he genuinely just wanted everyone to understand that there was someone in their corner. And Jesus
would like
Christ.
visit kids in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So while he was in school for music composition, while he was visiting home, his family got their first television.
They as in Francois? Or
no,
they as in
we're
Fred
now
Rogers?
just talking about Fred Rogers.
Okay.
We'll get back to them meeting in a second. So he sees the first television, and almost immediately, instinctively, he understands how this new medium could be used and is annoyed that it's being used for this like slapstick style humor that he's seeing. He remembers seeing like literally someone like getting pied in the face, you know, like that kind of thing. And he's like, I see how incredible of a tool this could be, especially for child education. And why is it being used like this? So instead of continuing to theology school, he began a television career as an assistant and a floor manager of the music programs for NBC in New York City. He worked at 30 Rock. And he quickly realized commercialized television, not for him.
Could see that.
Yeah. He was a few years ahead of Joanne. So I think what happened is he was in his like first or second year in New York, and he literally wrote a letter back to Rollins College where she was finishing school proposing to her.
Incredible.
Proposing was such a different vibe back then, and I kind of miss it. He said that, and I was like...
My history book is, like, I've been listening to a lot of history audiobooks that have, like, been spanning, like, 1925 to 1945, like, kind of that era. Very, very much like a focus on pre-war, but I'm nerdy now. It's great.
Yeah.
But so many people are like, and I knew at the kind of cocktails of our first date, I was going to marry you. You know, and that's crazy.
What do you mean?
And then several of them do get divorced within the next couple of years, or live unhappily and just have very public affairs. And that'll do. You know,
that'll happen.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
You know what didn't happen with Fred and Joanne?
Any of that.
Yeah, they left each other. Deeply. In 1953, he moved back to his hometown area and helped to found WQED in Pittsburgh. WQED is the first community-supported educational television station in the country. From 1954 to 62, he worked on a show called The Children's Corner as a co-producer, puppeteer, and organist. He was very talented at the piano. So basically, if you could relate Francois and Fred's childhoods, every time Francois turned to singing is when Fred turned to piano. This show, The Children's Corner, was such a low-budget show that Fred had to even try to get free film donated to produce the show. And the network budgeted about $150 a week for the show, but for the like entire show production. And Fred got $75 a week. Josie, his other co-producer and like the host of the show, got $75 a week. And that was $150. And so everything they had to buy for the show came out of their own,
salary.
Their pockets, essentially. Basically, that's around $800 today, I think, per week in 2026. So anything, no, that's $150 is $800. I don't know. You do the math. So anything needed for the show came out of their own pockets. During this time, he decided to continue his seminary during his lunch hours. And he also started doing some graduate level studies in the realm of child development at the University of Pittsburgh.
This man loved not making money. This man loved working so hard and making nothing. in seminary school, working for public educational television, and going to grad school.
Yep. Yeah.
That man loved so much work with literally no financial reward.
I mean, it came eventually.
I get it.
But like,
I get
know.
it.
Look in a mirror, Grant.
I get it.
Yeah. He eventually left the Children's Corner to dedicate his time to seminary and these grad studies. He was increasingly believing that the show that they were developing was starting to veer quickly into the range of slapstick humor, and it wasn't going to be as useful for children as he had hoped. He got his divinity degree around 62-63. He was ordained with a special charge to serve children and families through television. And he has this quote, "Television has the chance of building a real community out of an entire country." And that really just made me miss live television. You know, like, remember when you had to tune into shit? Like, or when the DVR only had a certain number of slots that you could record things and you like had to like tune in and then you could like talk to your friends about it.
I do remember this, yes.
Live tweeting, incredible. That was more recent and also still happens with things like Game of Thrones. But anyway, he never once ends up doing work like officially as a minister as you would think of a minister today. But he was still a minister nonetheless, and arguably much more effective because his theology was love your neighbor and love yourself. Jesus. So Fred actually worked with a lot of well-known experts in the realm of early education and child psychology. To name a few, Dr. Benjamin Spock, Dr. T. Barry Brazelton, who was a pediatrician, Eric H. Erickson, sorry, what the fuck is that name? Who's a psychologist, and all of these relationships formed because he had a relationship with his mentor, Dr. Margaret McFarland. And he is quoted saying, "The feelings of a young child are every bit as powerful as our adult feelings," which was considered radical at the time and actually is like changing how I think about my nieces and nephews, but whatever. Fred was becoming known for his like very effortless ability to be able to bond with a child, at one point saying that he never felt like he needed to put on a funny hat or do a funny voice or jump through any hoops to bond with the kid because he met them where they were at. He was still in touch with his childhood, and other kids saw that and recognized themselves in him and were like, come into our imaginary world.
Right.
Fred got along with every child regardless of how much of a dick they were being. There's like a PA on set that was like, that kid was being a dick. I would have gotten rid of him. I would have drop kicked that motherfucker. And Fred was like, tell me more.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the neighborhood. In 1966, he returned to Pittsburgh from Canada. He like spent a couple years up there and launched what would eventually be known as Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It would not air nationally until 1968. It had a low production value, a simple set. It was very slow paced. Basically the opposite of every other television program at the time. And every episode started out the same exact way. Fred would walk in the door, change out of his jacket, put on a cardigan, take off his dress shoes, change into sneakers, and feed the fish, all while singing the same title song. The lyrics like, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. If you are a little depressed and want to just see him sing it, I don't know what the fuck kind of drug is in the shit he produced. You will start crying. The way he fucking says it, you're like, he sees me. What do you mean you want to be my neighbor? You don't even know me. What do you, it's like, I just...
At my cruelest, I would never assign this topic to you. I want you to know.
Thank you. It was so
it's
fucked
so
up.
crazy that A, I didn't do this topic, and B, separately, but just as important, you did.
And also, while I was in a depressive episode. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Likewise, the end of each show would end the same. He would exchange the cardigan for a sport coat, change his sneakers for his dress shoes, and walk out singing, "It's such a good feeling." He would also say something along the same line at the end of every show. Quote, "You've made this day a special day just by your being you. There's no person in the world like you, and I like you just the way you are." Bitch, what? Illegal. Anyway, there is
it's because it's like emphatic, you know?
It is.
And I like you
just the way you are. Like, and there's something about it, like, if there's like certain people that could say that to me and I'd be like, literally shut the fuck up, get out of my house. But like
Because girl, you're amazing. Just the
Don't
way,
do that to me right now.
The way you are. What is this, prom 2012? Stop
Yes.
crying right now.
No. This is the first white man I've supported.
Yeah.
Straight white religious? Are you kidding me? What do you mean I'm on his side?
He's a good man, Savannah.
He's
good
like
man.
the definition of a good man. Oh my God.
Lawful good man.
Literally. There is like a little train in his house in the neighborhood that would take you out of his house and into the like land of make believe, which is where all of the puppets that he would operate
Like
were.
Daniel Tiger.
Daniel Tiger fucked me the fuck up. I don't know what it is about that raggedy ass tiger, but I was like, he sees me.
That he loves it so fiercely, despite how ugly it is a huge part of its appeal, I think.
So what happened actually is that tiger was gifted to him while he was working on the children's corner, and something had happened. I think something to do with the film like being brittle because it was free, breaking, and he had to like improvise something, and it was supposed to be a bird, but it ended up just being this tiger that someone had like arbitrarily given to him, and it just ended up being Daniel the Tiger. And I think it was just like always that exact same puppet for like decades, and that's why it looks so like raggedy. But if you see it in like the early episodes, it looks like a lot, and it makes sense like why it looks the way that it looks. But there's a reason I'm not going to show you pictures of the puppets in this episode, just because I think they're a little hard to take seriously unless you're like seeing how they operate and like how Fred operates them. So if you want that, you should go look at it because it is heartwarming. It's disgusting. It's so heartwarming. And oh my God. Okay. So the train would take you to the neighborhood of make-believe where all the puppets lived. Notably, Fred was never present in the neighborhood of make-believe. It was only the puppets. And I mean, he's operating the puppets, which is why he's never there. But there's like a nice, I don't know, metaphor to him not being in that neighborhood. Yeah. And then there was some of the characters of make-believe. So there was like, Lady Aberlin or something. And then obviously Officer Clemmons, who we'll talk about, and some others. The characters, the puppets, were all likely based off of people in Fred's own life. But a lot of people who were close with Fred kind of all agree that all of the puppets were representations of different parts of Fred's own personality. But for example, Queen Sarah was most likely his wife, Joanne. Lady Elaine was likely Fred's sister, who was kind of the villain at the beginning of the show. But they interview her like she starts out as a witch. She like curses people. But now like everyone's like, I mean, no one really wanted to say it, but Lady Elaine was probably his sister. And
one of those classic examples where a show needs a season or two for all the characters to kind of find
level
their
out.
footing.
But they interview his sister in the documentary, and he's like, she thinks it's fucking hilarious that character was probably her. Some of the other characters were puppets like X the Owl, Henrietta the Pussycat, Daniel Striped Tiger, King Friday the 13th. Overall, he did like 10 voices for 10 different puppets. Yeah, you know how Jonathan Bailey always looks like the person he's talking to is the only person in the room?
Yeah.
That's what Fred Rogers looks like. He said that one time when he's talking to the camera, he always envisions one person. Like it doesn't have to be the same person, but he always envisions one person who like needs to hear what he's saying.
I think as a person who's made education like my career, I think the thing that is apparent in Fred Rogers' episodes is he is aware that he is an adult talking to a child that trusts him. And takes that like responsibility and privilege like really seriously.
He never infantilizes them either. Right. One of his earliest experiences, I think, when they were still like testing him out, or he was testing himself out to like be able to interact with these kids, he walks into a room of like preschool, kindergarten age kids, and this one boy comes running up to him and says, "My dog lost his ears in the washing machine." And Fred just goes, "Yeah, that happens sometimes. But have you ever noticed that doesn't happen to us? Our ears don't fall off. Our legs don't fall off." And the kid just like eyes light up and was like, "And our arms don't fall off." And just absolutely opens this entire world of like an adult not shutting them down or saying like, and it's just so fucking heartwarming and like, oh, Yeah, we're all kind of assholes to kids, aren't we?
One of my favorite jokes. Don't remember the comedian, but I remember the joke. And it was like, kids just are talking and talking and talking. And then eventually one day they share information that is news to the other adults around them. And for the first time ever, they are listened to. Mom and Daddy have been sleeping in separate floors for the last couple of weeks. What?
What's that moment for
Say
you?
more about that.
Because I have a very distinct memory of that for me.
And here's the thing. I don't have a memory of that. Because my family, my parents
you
especially.
just never shut the fuck up.
Well, yes, but also like my parents did such a good job of keeping things behind closed doors. Like I've had to share with like my partner now. I'm like, I know they fought.
But
like,
you never
they're
saw it?
humans, so I know they fought.
That's crazy.
They never disagreed in front of us.
Okay, but what's the moment where you first remember like an adult listening to you?
Don't know if I've had it yet.
We've been doing this podcast for so many years.
So the question is a memory in which people took what I was saying seriously.
No. Okay, so what I remember is we were driving in my parents' car and like we got a chip in the windshield. And my parents were like so annoyed that we had a chip. And they're like, where do we even take it? And I was like, you could take it to Emic. Well, they have the radio ads that say if it's smaller than $1, they'll fix it for free. And my parents were like, you listen to ads? And I have listened to ads since.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a memory.
Write in, listener.
I remember my mom sitting and standing next to me when I got my hair cut as a child because I would just share out observations and general information. And so it was more of like a gotta control what Grant has to say. I feel like, honestly, people didn't really start to like consider what I was saying until well after undergraduate. Like, I think the first time, like, adults that were older than me paused and turned and were like, I was like 24. Which, like, here's the thing.
What age did you shave your head?
25 and a half.
Okay. You're like, oh shit, people are looking at me now.
Yeah, a little bit. I got responsibilities now. I can't have hair.
Another reason I can't be around Grant's children. It took him exactly 10 minutes of being late coming to pick us up that I was like, you want to see Grant with hair? And all the kids were like, yes.
And to be clear, late picking them up, Grant was still working as they lounged in the lobby outside.
It was late and we were tired.
Meanwhile, I obviously immune to time and not also super tired.
Yeah. I said what I said. Anyway, you're welcome.
It was on that walk back that I made, like, they were like, oh, we think we talked to one of your friends. And I was like, is it so-and-so? And they go, we don't remember her name. And I go, pretty big woman? And they go, oh, you can't say that. And I go, it's not only funny if you have internalized fat phobia. And two of them went, oh. And the third one went, that's so right. It is our own internalized
I love
fat
sometimes
phobia.
when they actually listen to you and they're like, shit, is that prejudice?
No, I know. I actually looked at a kid. I had to look at a freshman today and go, or yesterday, and I go, hey, that was homophobic. Because the kid goes, yeah, like he was talking to me and he was like, anyways, have you seen where like so-and-so and Sonar? And I'm like, God, why are they your boyfriends? And then the kid expected me to laugh. And I was like, so I'm going to replace the phrase, are they your boyfriends, with just, what are you, gay? And then you let me know if it's homophobic when you hear it that way. And I go, and I know you didn't mean it as homophobic, so you don't see it as homophobic, but what you just did was homophobic. It is crazy. Ha ha ha. You know, like no one would ever call me Mr. Rogers, and I'm aware of that.
Hey.
But I am pretty aggressively a truth teller.
It's true. So the beauty of the show was not only in like its simplicity and how it addressed kids, it was in how it addressed the concerns of the time, and it gave children a jumping off point for understanding things that they might be hearing on the TV or overhearing adults in their lives talking about. So episodes literally 1 through 5, Fred, here's the kind of storyline that happens. Fred gets a newspaper announcing that King Friday the 13th is establishing a border guard, and the subheading says, King Against Change. And there's this whole plot line of King Friday the 13th, they're like erecting a fence, they're like saying like, keep out the changers, like don't change anything, and then notably, this is around the time that Vietnam is happening. And so like there is a lot of prejudice against people who don't look like us and change and all of that. And so King Friday builds a wall to prevent change. The members of the neighborhood get together, decide they need to tell King Friday that they want peace. And so they float a bunch of like balloons into his castle that have like peaceful words on them. And King Friday is like, oh my God, these people want peace. Like we should take down this wall. And it's one of those things. It's like, it's so simple. It's so simplified. And it's not at all what we're actually going through, but it does help them help people conceptualize like, oh, like maybe figures in authority don't want change. And like we need to tell our authority figures that that's what we want. And so here's a few quotes that just kind of encapsulate Fred's philosophy. He had so many just like beautiful quotes that there's a lot of them. So anyway, no, there's only 3 right here, but quote, "The space between the television screen and whoever happens to be receiving it, I consider that to be a very holy ground." True. Quote, "In this country, a child is appreciated for what he will be. He will be a great consumer someday. And the quicker we can get them to go out and buy, the better." Obviously, that's said in like, that shouldn't be the case. Quote, "Children have very deep feelings, just the way parents do, just the way everybody does. And our striving to understand those feelings and to better respond to them is what I feel is the most important task in our world." He, at this point, thinks children's programming is sloppy and that the messaging is never intentional. The sole purpose is always to entertain, never to educate or to relate or do anything useful, God forbid. And so during this time, other children's programming is speeding up and Mr. Rogers is taking things slow. Literally, at one point in the show, he says, "Do you want to know how long a minute is?"
Yeah.
And he sets an egg timer down with a minute, and it's silent for a minute.
Whole minute, yeah.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Someone in the documentary said, quote, "There is a lot of slow space, but there is no wasted space," which I thought was just very sweet. He was just very comfortable in silence. He was incredible at crafting direct questions and not afraid to just like sit there and let you craft your answer and then sit there and let you add on to your answer and give him exactly what you felt you needed to give him. And that was one of Francois's first impressions of him. He was doing an opera and Fred came up after the service. And Francois remembers that Fred just kind of stood there silent with him and like created space for the two of them and didn't say anything. It felt like Fred was trying to get Francois to say something. And then that's how the entire relationship started. And it's just like, men need to shut the fuck up. I was in a meeting today that was supposed to be 50 minutes that ended up being 90 minutes. I fully missed my next meeting because of these motherfuckers. And like, it was like at minute 59, some motherfucker came out of the room, in the room that like most of the people were in, and they started a whole new conversation. And I was like, hey, what the fuck? Why are we all saying the same shit round robin style? Can we not?
I love Red Robin.
You want to go?
Kind of in a Chili's budget era right now. Chili's is
and
really
I'm
good.
interested in that.
Yeah.
They have a...
I have been to Chili's within the last 31 days. You should know that.
Invite me
It
next
was
time.
really good. We will.
I love Chili's.
We will.
I had a friend in college that worked for Chili's, and the way I would get her, she lived in my sorority house, that I would get her to bring me home the kids menu pizza. It's disgusting, but I have very fond memories of it, so it is very nostalgic for me. And a corn on the cob. Turns out if you order it online, they don't ask questions.
Last month, they had a peach ring margarita.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah, they did.
And they hit the table right as about 35 people showed up for prom dinner. And you know how it's like you're in like a gross t-shirt and athletic shorts
Yep.
and like flip-flops. And then there are like a million sequins outside the window.
And like fake eyelashes and
Yeah.
hair done up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
suits. And yeah, that's
and everyone's
tough.
dressed really well. And then there's one boy in jeans, cowboy boots, and a tucked-in white button-up shirt. And he's like, that's... And what, I mean, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know exactly
Anyways,
what you're trying to say.
Fred Rogers.
Fred Rogers.
Not Chili's.
No. Although,
Fearless
did I ever tell you one time I tried to eat a lava molten cake by myself at Chili's one year for my birthday?
No?
It was one of the best birthdays.
Oh, you're like, so I did it and it was great.
No, I did. I wasn't actually. I like finished like 95% of it, but I was literally like so full that I was like, if I eat another bite, I will vomit. So that was really humbling to know that I couldn't finish it by myself, but it was incredible.
What a wonderful anecdote in the middle of a Fred Rogers story.
I just need a break from being told that I'm loved, okay? I don't know how to internalize it, and I don't like it.
I think Fred Rogers finding out you had such a reaction to his programming would make Fred Rogers feel really happy.
I know, and that's why I couldn't put the story together. So the biggest questions that people have about Fred Rogers, one, is he gay? No, he's not on set. The crew described Fred as the rich kid who lived in the big house, and the crew as goofball kids who lived across the alley. What he didn't say was like, we're the stoners and the outcasts and stuff like that, but the pictures they showed, vibe I was getting. You know the movie Clueless?
Yes.
Where the like new girl starts interacting with like the skater boys. Like that's the distinction I'm talking about.
Okay.
But they all felt like they could be themselves around Fred, and they were all goofy. There's all these photos and like behind the scenes videos of them acting like idiots, and Fred just like in the background laughing along with them and like interacting with like their silly little pranks and stuff. They all had long hair. They were always pulling a joke on each other. They have a video one time that they replaced the shoes Fred was changing into with shoes that were like 5 sizes too small, and Fred had no idea. So he was like desperately trying to pull on the shoe while he's singing until he realizes what's happening. There's another one, I think it was like during one of the final episodes, he opens the closet to like either take out the cardigan or put away the cardigan, and one of the crewmates is literally in the fucking closet just like staring at him, and Fred was like, thought it was hilarious.
Right.
No, I mean, like they cut and redid the take, but one crew member who's interviewed in the documentary, Nick Tallow, remembers that whenever anyone would bring a camera to the studio, remember this is before cell phones, so like a personal camera, he would steal it and take a picture of himself mooning the camera.
Mooning? Fred Rogers?
No, Nick Tallow. Nick
okay.
Tallow would do this to the other crewmates and cast members and whatever. And because it was film back then,
right.
It's not like you would just check your camera until it gets developed. And so one time he did this to Fred because Fred had bought a camera to set. And Fred didn't say anything about it for months. And Nick was like,
incredible.
What the fuck? And then around Christmas, Nick overhears Fred talking to someone and goes, hey, did you give Nick his present? It was a large poster of that photo blown up.
Amazing.
He's also wearing like a King Friday the 13th like mask over his head. It's art. It's an artistic photo. In his personal life, Fred, I think there's probably a lot of trauma that's informing the way that he acts, but he is very controlled of himself. Mm-hmm. Every morning he swam a mile, never for time, literally just to swim a mile.
Just to move his body.
Yep. After his swim, he would weigh himself. And for the majority of his life, he weighed exactly, or close at me. I think exactly is probably an exaggeration, but 143 pounds. Because he had a private numerology, which if you don't know is like when various numbers mean different things to you. That 143 meant I love you because there's 1 letter in I, there's 4 letters in love, and then 3 letters in 3. And so 143. Or 3 letters in you.
I remember that from like a clip or something that I watched them. All education majors have touched the Fred Rogers stone before. Yeah.
I would be disappointed if that wasn't the case. Yeah. This fact drives people bananas. Just because like it's insanely difficult. Like I fluctuate between, I mean, I'm also a woman, so it's a little different, but I fluctuate between like 10 pounds normally, you know? So while those close to Fred agree that each one of his puppets represented a different part of who Fred was, they all generally agree that Daniel, the tiger, was the closest to being the real Fred. He articulated his fears and anxieties. Daniel articulated the fears and anxieties that Fred felt as a child. And when Fred was older, he even acknowledged this in an interview. He said that it's much easier for him to be able to say things like, I'm scared, could you give me a hug, from Daniel's mouth instead of his own.
Sorry. Right through you, though. What?
I know.
That's so sweet, though.
Even at home, his kids, he had 2 boys, knew that if Fred was angry and wanted to express his anger but not like scare anyone, he would say things in Lady Elaine's voice. And the kids kind of inherently knew that this was him just blowing off steam. Like, don't take it like too seriously. This is him just saying something, you know? And his sister kind of adds more context to that, saying that both of them grew up in a family where they weren't really allowed to express anger or emotions. And so he learned to express his emotions through things like playing the piano, much like Francois, and singing. And then he ended up channeling that into the puppets. But here is a song. I'm probably not going to share this on the episode just because I'm terrified of a copyright violation. But this is Lady Aberlin and Daniel the Tiger. All of these videos that I'm going to show Grant and cut out of the episode are going to be linked in the show notes. So if you want to watch them, go for it. But this is Lady Aberlin and Daniel the Tiger talking about talking about mistakes. Then they had like
Around.
because he recognizes that like you're gonna have to hear it again and again. Get the fuck out with this.
And it's like just children's programming, and it's a hollowed out Beanie Baby on the back of like a cardboard wall.
Inside of a clock, I think.
Well, the female actress in the scene is probably wearing a dress she brought from home, you know? And it's like a sign that like you don't need like all the resources in the world to make something good.
Meaningful, as long as you like are intentional with it.
I don't mean to be too like in the deep right now about this.
No, get in the deep.
Moving from the school I was at to the school that I'm at now. The school that I'm at now brings me joy in so many different ways, and is, for the capitalistic hellscape that we live in, resourced in a way that the other program that I was in, the other school I was in, could not even dream of. But I think the more time I spend at my current school, the prouder I am of some of the things that we did produce elsewhere.
With less resources.
And it's not because what we produce with less resources, but because the more and more I produce in a place we don't want for much, the more I'm like aware that like the thing that's always ever mattered was just giving students that opportunity to share what was on their mind and their heart, like share their truth, you know? And, you know, we beg, borrowed, and stealed a lot, you know, to make those kind of things happen. But like at the end of the day, the truth that resonated with people had almost nothing to do with how many resources I was marshaling during the week.
Oh my God. So let's talk about the Senate hearing really quick. LBJ signed and funded the funding of public television with the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967. And then, Nixon becomes president.
Right.
Who wants to defund them. Because also Nixon liked to threaten media sources who didn't behave politically, if that sounds like familiar at all. But
I don't know. Let us not ring in.
No, you're right. We haven't had a leader like that in a while. So another reason he wanted to defund it was probably because he was having some budget issues and needed to find money for the Vietnam War. And so he wanted to cut all of the funding, which was like $20 million, in order to fix his budget. And so there's a Senate subcommittee on communications that does a bunch of hearings. And I don't remember the name of the guy who was the chair of that committee, but everyone kind of agrees that he came off as pretty apathetic towards all of the other people who were giving testimony. And right before Fred went on, he made a statement saying, the chair of the subcommittee said, "I don't want anyone reading off of scripts anymore. It's wasting time. Like, I just want to have a conversation." And everyone remembers being like, "Oh shit, Fred has probably written something beautiful." And so in 1969, Fred Rogers testifies in front of this committee hearing in defense of PBS funding. And he says, tells this man, I wrote all of this philosophical stuff. It would take me 10 minutes to read, but I'm going to trust you that you said you were going to read it.
You'll just read it on your own.
And he said, "Do you want to read it?" And he said, "No, I just want to talk about it." And so he said, quote, "This is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service." And then he reads some of the lyrics to one of the songs that he sings to kids, or says the lyrics to some of the songs that he sings, one of which being "What do you do with the mad that you feel?" which talks about how which encourages kids that if something is like overwhelming or making them mad, that they can stop, that they have the power to stop whatever they're doing and like recenter. And the song like encourages them to remember the lyrics of the song so that they could like come back to themselves. And it genuinely feels like a fucking moment out of a movie, because the chair of the committee, who had been very dismissive up until that point, like kind of gives like a deep sigh after Fred finishes, and he says, "Looks like you just earned yourself $20 million." Are you kidding me right now? What the fuck? What the fuck?
I also want to like add to, like, sometimes I feel you hear stories like that, and one of your first thoughts is, wow, we've slipped so far from that high water mark, like as a country or society. And that's like a very natural like thought to have, right?
Yeah.
I would, just to push back on that thought a little bit, like there are still people out there working on wonderful children's programming across media platforms.
There is a Fred Rogers program that's still on called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Still.
Right. Sesame Street continues to be on the air, but then you have new successes like shows like Bluey or shows for younger audiences like Miss Rachel. And yes, PBS has been defunded under the Trump administration, and that's horrific. It was a reality that PBS faced under Fred Rogers many times, like, or at least stared down. And we aren't totally spiral and directionless as a country. I know it feels that way right now, but just like 3-4 years ago under the Biden administration, when we passed the child care tax credit, it helped lift hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. It's a policy decision that the current administration has decided not to continue for obvious reasons, right? We can get into all that like later, of like self-serving, whatever.
Yeah.
But like the goodness of the people who want to run our government to like do something for children, to like lift them out of poverty, to expand their educational horizons, right? Like that spirit in America still exists. And it's easy now to think that it doesn't exist. But I would also argue it's easy at the time to think that it didn't exist back then either. You know, that like we have these rose-colored glasses because we know how the story then progresses, and, you know, our parents or grandparents came out of that. But there were certainly concerns about like the loss of a moral character in the 60s and 70s that would look a lot like our conversation right now. And so there are still moments that we can be proud of. Not to say that like fight's over, obviously. It's never over. But like I don't think we are all that far away from the version that we are appreciative of in this story.
Yeah. No, that's true. So the next section is Francois coming to live in the neighborhood. So Fred and Francois meet, and Fred asks Francois to appear on the show a few times just to start. It's a simple dialogue. Fred introduces Francois and asks him to sing. And they develop a pretty tight relationship pretty early on. At one point, Francois is sick, and Fred like drives all the way to his apartment, which is obviously in like a predominantly black neighborhood, to deliver chicken soup because he finds out Francois is ill. And Francois is like, a white man caring about me?
What are you
like,
doing in this neighborhood?
Yeah, like he was having a hard time trusting that Fred was genuine in his actions. And at this time, Francois is 24, and he wasn't officially on the show yet, but he would stop by the studio just to be around Fred. And when discussing how Francois could become a permanent member of the cast, they had to create a character for him. And I believe it's Fred who first conceived of the idea of Officer Clemmons, who was a police officer. And Francois is a liberal, obviously, since going to college. He had become increasingly politically active in civil rights, gay rights, anti-war sentiment, and is a black man growing up in a very poor area and had never had good associations with the police, and so was hesitant to play a police officer as a black man. He says, quote, "It meant more than just putting on a uniform. From my earliest years, my relationship with uniformed policemen has been complicated. And I knew that they were not the best friends for a black American boy. All during junior high school and high school, I heard graphic stories of my black peers having had traumatizing run-ins with uniformed policemen. These encounters almost never turned out positively, whether they were in the right or the wrong." And Francois also remembers, like, as he's contemplating if he should take this role, the quote-unquote sermon of survival he got from his community. Just be humble, don't irritate or make white men angry, especially if they're a policeman. Quote, "Keep your eyes down low and keep your mouth shut, They could shoot you and kill you for no reason at all and never go to jail. And he remembers asking himself when he was young and getting that speech for the first time, why should I be afraid of a cop if I hadn't done anything wrong? And he voiced that concern to one of his older cousins. And his older cousin said, Buttercup, which was his nickname at the time, Buttercup, listen here. Let me tell you. You ain't have to do nothing wrong. You black, ain't you? You a boy, ain't you? Well, it's like just being up there in that cop's face and being black. Well, that's all. You ain't have to do nothing wrong. Being black at the wrong time, at the wrong place, it'll get you killed. And he ended up saying yes to being on the show because he felt that was important for other kids growing up like him to see a figure that looked like him and to have some positive association. But he also gave Fred the stipulation that it can't interfere with my singing. He was like, I need to keep being able to sing on the show.
Yeah.
And I also it can't interfere with any other auditions that I have, whatever. Fred teased him relentlessly about that for the next 20 years, saying randomly just, oh, sorry, am I interfering with your singing? And Fred later told him that was the moment that he knew he loved Francois because he knew Francois was not going to kiss his ass. Francois would be one of the first recurring roles for an African American on children's television.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're now going to we're going to kind of split this timeline up into two parts. The first part is we're going to talk about the issue of race. And the second part, we're going to talk about the issue of Francois' identity. Okay. So first we're going to talk about race because I think it makes more sense flowing that way. But so June 7th, 1968. What happens in 1968, Grant? Some people die.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, unfortunately, several. Are you talking about Kent State?
No.
Okay. Are you talking about Selma?
No, I'm talking. Okay. So this is early. So this episode, they do a few special episodes.
68. Selma would have been before that. Yeah.
MLK Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Is assassinated in April. And then June 5th, Senator RFK, who had just won the California Democratic primary, is also assassinated.
Right.
So they host a special episode to help the kids understand assassination or grief.
Right.
Daniel, the tiger, asks one of the neighbors what assassination means. And it's one of the human actresses, and she says, it just means that someone has died unexpectedly. Have you been hearing that word a lot? And they talk about it, and Daniel is like, well, that's what happened to that guy, And so they have all these kind of vague conversations that a kid would put together.
Right.
And Fred, when he asked about it, said he felt he had to speak to the families about grief. And he didn't want the children to feel isolated and confused and left to their own imagination of loss and destruction. And it was not only a message to the children, but also to the parents to remind their kids the parents, that their kids will not understand, that they need help processing. Fred also lived his truth. After MLK was killed, he went to go pick up Francois and two of Francois' friends who were living in a neighborhood that was being heavily looted and rioted, and there was a lot of crime happening as the Black community was rightfully infuriated with what was happening. He brought them back to stay with him and Joanne for a few days until there was a no travel curfew in place for a week or so. And so they wanted to keep them somewhere safe because they cared about them and Francois' people. And Francois had a lot of confusing emotions around this time. He was confused why these people of his own community would be looting and burning down their own neighborhoods. And there are two quotes. At one point, Fred is going to call Francois Franz. So there's two quotes and a bullet in between, and Franz is how you say it.
First one, and this is from Francois. Yeah. Both of them are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I knew who the snipers and looters and flamethrowers were. They were Black and young and married and single and sometimes middle-aged, but they all had one thing in common. They were tired of a system they couldn't seem to beat, a system they couldn't translate or get around, a system that had denied them what they sensed I had, an education and opportunities. They had grabbed for the first opportunity to lash out and hurt someone, even though that someone, in almost every case, was Black, and perhaps just as disadvantaged and frustrated as they were.
You can read the bullet in between. Okay. Yeah.
While staying with Frank, tried to explain to Fred what MOK had meant to him and his frustration with the strategy of nonviolence. And then this was Fred Rogers' response. Quote, "You're not alone, Franz. I meant what I said. You are now a member of our family, and we care about you very much. Your life is not going to be easy, Franz. Nobody's really is. Take heart in knowing that as long as I live, you will always have someone who will reach out to you and show you love. Dr. King is gone, but I am here with you. And that's what's important for you right now." At that instant, his words breached the wall of emotions and feelings in my heart. Like a shattered dam, it snapped, and I loosed a flood of grateful tears. Those tears were strengthening and healing to me. "I want so much to believe, Fred," I said. "Then watch me. I'll do all I can to be there for you, Franz. You have my word on it."
What do you notice about what Fred said?
Can you be more specific?
I just think it's so. What bothers me when I have conversations about like my depression or my anxiety or whatever, and Casey and I had to have conversations about this very early on, is that I'm not looking for you to solve my problems. I'm not looking for you to relate to me in this moment. I'm looking for like you to hear me and to understand me. And I feel like Fred is doing that like perfectly. Like he's not trying to solve any problems. He's not trying to say it's going to be okay, because he doesn't know that. And
Right.
he's legitimately saying like what you're feeling is 100% valid and you're allowed to feel that. And I understand that it's confusing and that the grief is hard and the road ahead is going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but I hope that I can help you and support you through that, I'm a shoulder to lean on. And even when Francois says like, I don't know that I can trust you, he says like, watch me. Like I understand that too.
Right.
And like, I'll show you. And I just think that's like, who is this fucking man?
Mm-hmm.
This was a man written by a woman.
It's a man of the 60s.
Yeah. Who is comfortable in his identity. At one point, we're going to talk a little bit more about race relations. Canonically, like how I'm telling the story, these next couple parts happen like way later on in the story, just for people with autism like me who are like, but wait.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point when the crew is touring, they are set to perform with an orchestra, and Francois walks into the place where they're going to perform, and the conductor sees Francois and he just starts screaming at Francois to get off his stage and to leave. And this is probably late 60s, maybe early 70s.
Okay.
And even when Francois is like, I'm Officer Clemons, like I'm part of the show, he's not listening and he's just continuing to scream. And like Francois is just like frozen with fear. And so he just gets off the stage, goes to his dressing room. And Fred finds out later, I mean, immediately all the cast members go to his room and are like, that was fucked up. And at some point, Fred walks with Francois back up to where the conductor is and says, quote, I understand you had a few words with our Officer Clemons this morning when he came here to rehearse with you. He says you said some very unpleasant things to him. In our neighborhood, we don't talk like that, and especially to one of our neighbors. We have come here today to have a pleasant visit with our many friends from Cincinnati, and we're sorry that this has happened. But we don't think we can carry on unless you apologize to Officer Clemons.
Hell yeah.
Unless there's something that he said or did to you, you owe him an apology right now, or we're not going to work with you.
Hell yeah.
Because that's the kind of representation we need, all right? Francois remembers this as his John Brown moment. John Brown being the only white man he knew outside of the Civil War that had lost his life in an attempt to end slavery in the United States. It was not unheard of that when the cast would go touring, like sometimes they would be sent by PBS to places that the place that they were going to was kind of being forced to host them. Sure. Or kind of only wanted Fred, not really the rest of the cast, or didn't want Francois specifically. Right. You know? And so whenever the cast got an inkling that that might be how this particular host was acting, and if the host did the classic things of like, oh, sorry, this person's in a meeting they can't get out of, or traffic's really bad, or we're not going to help you find parking, or we're not going to meet you here. Right. Like all of the things that clue you into like, oh, I'm not welcome here. If it was enough, they would then immediately go to the local black gathering place or black college and talk to those people and then call PBS. And that way they would find out more about the race relations in the area and then determine if they actually should go back to that host and see if it's worth giving them a second chance. And that's the kind of shit we need, white people.
Yeah.
All right. So Fred did everything he could to make it understood that his show and his network would not tolerate this kind of behavior. And he really did put his money where his mouth is, specifically on one of the most iconic episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, episode 195. It's the 195th episode, but it's technically episode 1065 because of how they numbered it. But it was released May 9th, 1969. There was an issue at the time of not wanting black people in public pools. And there was a protest where a group of black civilians and white rabbis marched to a segregated hotel and got into the pool. And the manager of that hotel dumped a bunch of cleaning material into the pool to get them out. And obviously that's major health concern, right? Fred, on his show, washes his feet in a kiddie pool outside of his house and invites Officer Clemmons to wash his feet with him. Officer Clemmons initially denies, saying he doesn't have a towel, but Fred says that they could share his. And after they both cool their feet in this little kiddie pool, François Clemmons dries his feet with a towel, and then on camera immediately after, Fred dries himself with the same towel as a way to literally show, and that's a photo of that moment, that y'all, this is fucked up what we're doing,
the history of the stereotype that black Americans can't swim traces its root back to this moment in U.S. history when beforehand public pools were allowed to segregate. Yeah. And then when they were no longer allowed to segregate they were white and black patrons, two things happened. Public pools in white neighborhoods were by local municipal governments sold off to private organizations because private organizations were still at the time allowed to segregate. And then after that was done, largely closed down pools in specifically black neighborhoods to ensure that they would not swim in the same pool together. And so the local pool that you as a person in America might have had access to, and that's where you learned how to swim. I learned how to swim at Star City Shores and Union College, shout out. Yeah. Those were specifically taken away from the black community during this crisis.
So that's super fun. But you can see at least Fred puts his money where his mouth is in a lot of senses. He's not afraid to step out of his own privilege to stand up for the people that don't have that same privilege and do so in a way that is going to make a wave, if you will. Get it? This next section is called No Longer on the Down Low. So Francois went to a gay bar with one of his friends. The gay bar was called the Playpen.
Incredible.
I know. Unfortunately, someone saw him and told the people who were working on the neighborhood. And so Fred had to have a discussion with him. This is the quote from that conversation. Someone, we're not able to say who, has informed us that you were seen at the local gay bar downtown with a friend from school. Now, I want you to know, friends, that if you're gay, it doesn't matter to me at all. Whatever you say and do is fine with me. But if you're going to be on the show as an important member of the neighborhood, you can't be out as gay. People must not know. What you feel must be your own personal business. Many of the wrong people will get the worst idea, and we don't want them thinking and talking about you like that. Basically, what he says is, if you come out publicly, sponsors will pull funding. And he continues to clarify and say, not only am I telling you this for the sake of the show, but I'm also telling you this for you. Because if you come out as gay publicly, it can backtrack your entire career up until this point. And so this broke Francois.
Yeah.
This is the quote.
Every word he had spoken had stabbed me in my soul. And now I was expected to carry on and function like there were no wounds, no pain. I thought I had almost allowed myself to love this man. He had so many things that I needed, fatherly things that I hungered for. The flood of tears that rushed to my eyes felt endless. I cried for all those years I missed my dad. For all those years I missed my stepfather. For all those years my stepfather yelled at me and lashed me with his tongue and with his belt. I cried for the things I couldn't have. My mother's love, my own gay marriage. I cried to be taken care of, to be understood, to be vulnerable, to be gay and black and weak and still be lovable. I cried so that he would know I was hurt. I was hurting, and he had no recourse. I cried because I felt so bad I wanted to die. I cried because I knew that I needed his love and was willing to cry for it.
Yeah. So when they talk about this in the documentary, Joanne says, I think this interaction happened, not to say that something is like too early or too late, but like in the scope of Fred's maturity as like a producer and like the owner of this show, it came too early in that sense. Like he was probably, a lot of that came from his own personal prejudice against gay people, and that he felt he had to protect his love, his show against that. And it's really complicated because like he's not wrong, you know, but it's also like really tough, especially understanding where Francois has come from and what he's dealt with, and like how hard he's fought to get to where he is, to finally find this person who is now telling him,
go back in the closet.
You can't be who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Fred adds that he wished it was different, but Francois can't have it both ways at this current time, that Francois's sexuality could ruin his career. He asked Francois how badly he really wanted his career, and also suggested getting married to a woman to secure that. Fred, again, not gay. But Francois made his decision. He said that this was a new part of his survival package, as it were. That if his career didn't survive, then, quote, what would the millions of young, impressionable black children caught up in America's television wasteland do for a positive self-image? So he married LaTanya May, his high school prom date, the one that his mom had recommended. This is him and LaTanya. I believe she's named, oh gosh, it's something with a C on the show, but yeah.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
For like LaTanya too.
Yes, she had, I mean, Francois knew that she was in love with him for a long time. And something I didn't write down is that at some point he goes back to the beach woods, or where Michael's family, and has dinner. And he finds out that LaTanya had been invited. Maybe it was at the other house.
Logan's.
The Logan's, yeah. That Elaine had invited LaTanya. And so that's how LaTanya and Michael end up meeting. Like the person he first came out to and first had like gay sex with, and the person that he's now going to marry. But this was before they were going to get married. And the two ended up like really hitting it off. Okay. Which I think probably played a part in the making of this decision, that like he wouldn't have to be there for LaTanya all the time. That like he had this best friend that could be his wife's best friend, you know? And so all this time, Francois had still been seeing Nikki.
Who?
Nikki, the football player that was straight from Oberlin. He was at grad school somewhere else, but he was originally from Pittsburgh, so he would come back and visit. Francois, after he had proposed to LaTanya, had like debated for weeks how to tell Nikki about the engagement. But Nikki ended up finding out from from a mutual friend who had been invited to the wedding. And Francois, while they had this conversation, asked Nikki to be an usher at the wedding. And Nikki said, of course, and that he might even bring Allison. And this is the quote from Nikki.
This is Nikki now?
Yeah.
I thought talking directly to Francois.
Yeah, over the phone. Okay.
I want you to know that I had only one problem with your wedding, and I want you to listen to me carefully. That's the kind of thing I want you to hear from your lips and not someone else's. Not even one of my boys. Whatever is happening to you personally, what you're doing or where you're going, I want to hear it from you personally. I've never put you off, and I never will. I want the same from you. I'm going to tell you something I may never say again, so hear me out. I love you, Francois. Black and as sweet as you are. And it may not be possible for us to get married and live together, But for as long as you live, I want you to be my baby. I'm committed to you forever. Whether you marry 1 time or 10 times, it does not matter to me. Nothing will ever change between us until you say so. You'll have to find the words to tell me to get lost, and then I'll get lost. Until then, I only know one thing. What's between us? There. Now I've said it. You've heard it. Let's move on and plan this damn wedding.
Just like...
How old are they in that quote?
This is... Oh, God. Maybe 70?
Okay.
Yeah, so he's in his mid-20s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like... That's... I'm just going to warn you right now. We're not going to get closure on that relationship. I'm not sure what happened. I tried Googling it. I'm not convinced that he didn't use a fake name
for Nikki.
For Nikki. I don't know what happens to them, but I just thought that quote was just like so incredibly touching and heartbreaking. And also so emotionally mature of him. But like, yeah. Sometime in 1969, Francois, who had come out to Fred like a couple years ago at this point is when Fred is like, a woman? Have you tried?
Right.
You should try. That Fred had been directing the final line of each show at him. Quote, his gaze became even more penetrating and unmistakably riveted to me as he said the lines he ended every show with. You make every day a special day just by being you, and I like you just the way you are. And after that episode was cut, when he realized that he's looking at me,
right,
he goes up to Fred and said, were you just talking to me? And Fred said, I've been talking to you for 2 years and you finally heard me. And so this was when officially like Fred is like 100% okay with who Francois is. Like any past prejudices against his identity have been forgotten. And Francois remembers collapsing into Fred's arms and crying. And he says, no man had ever told me that he loved me like that. I needed to hear it all my life. My dad never told me. My stepfather never told me. So from then on, he became my surrogate father. In 1970, LaTanya May moved out when the pair decided the relationship wasn't working.
They'd been married for 2 years?
A couple years,
okay.
Yeah. Apparently, she had believed he was bisexual. That he was romantically in love with her, but sexually attracted to Michael.
Well, that happens sometimes. That's actually a very nuanced
I know. I was like, wow.
Also, LaTanya May, not as blind to the situation as I at first thought you were. Okay.
Yeah, and she was also very close with Michael. Like, arguably at this point, maybe she was closer with Michael than Francois was close with Michael. Ironically, because Michael was so close with LaTanya and with him, he would come to visit regularly. And Francois was so grateful for this like buffer between him and his own wife. Unfortunately for Michael was actually in love with LaTanya. Michael was the one who was bisexual.
What? LaTanya's like, I'll move out so Michael and Francois can be together.
Get it on. And
Michael's like, don't leave.
Wait a minute. And so there's this like sentence that I like had to stare at for like 2 minutes today. That it was like, so Michael couldn't have realistically a relationship with LaTanya without like me being there, but LaTanya was not interested in Michael that way. But I was not interested in LaTanya, and I also wasn't interested in Michael.
I had been kind of interested in Michael that way.
Not anymore. Well, actually, Michael, I think at this point had a crush on both LaTanya and Francois.
Sure, why not?
Anyway, so they moved out. They moved away from each other in 1970. They stayed legally married for 4 years until eventually LaTanya actually found someone she did want to marry.
Good for LaTanya.
And so
tax season had to be a mess every year,
I know. They ended up officially splitting in 1974. After the divorce in 1974, Francois lived openly as a gay man.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
After the divorce or just after the original separation?
After the divorce, like the legal divorce, yeah. And there's a podcast episode on Francois I listened to called Stay Kind with Uncle Greg. It's a 15-minute episode. It was like one thing I literally just like looked up François Clemmons, and it was like one of the first things, and I was like, why not? I have to walk the dogs.
Can't make an omelet without cracking a few Gregs. Have you heard that?
Uncle Greg is too close to old Greg for me that I kept not being able to say it.
Greg is the incompetent cousin in Succession, and the fact that he has a name
Yep.
the same as my father's is very funny.
That's tough.
Can't make a few omelets
Let's put
without
that-
breaking
a
a few
few
Gregs. Cracking a few
Oh.
Gregs. Honestly, so funny.
Tough. Greg identifies as a gay black man, and he grew up watching the show. And so he remembers learning about all of this history of Francois coming out as gay and Fred being like, keep it to yourself.
Right.
And
Tell no one.
Solve world hunger. Tell no one. Because I was struggling to rationalize this of like, Fred is seen as like this like altruistic hero that was accepting of everyone. And yes, he was accepting, but he was also encouraging like this lying essentially, and this like hiding of oneself for the betterment of like some other side project, you know? And so Uncle Greg said that he actually saw it a different way, that growing up as a black man, he felt comforted seeing Francois on the screen. He didn't really identify Francois as a policeman. He had his own like personal experiences with cops at the time, but he identified with the softer side of Francois, and he recognizes now that his unidentified gay identity was seeing in Francois what there was between them, and also recognizing the softer side that he identified with, that all of the like macho men in his life did not.
Right.
So what do you think about this?
About what specifically?
Fred telling him to like stay in the closet.
Like not surprised at all by that. I mean, Eisenhower, who's president before Kennedy and Johnson, will fire any gay person in the federal government for being gay. Like it's called the Lavender Scare. There'll be communist Red Scares that will seek to like drive in part gay people out of the government. I think it's really, really tough. I think it's obviously very sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't really feel like Francois was fighting for it. I mean, it totally sucks that Fred put him in that position.
Yes.
But it's not like Fred put him in that position and Francois was like, no, I need to be this way.
Yes.
To be that way is untenable to me. And then Fred was like, I'm sorry, it's this or nothing. I mean, it kind of was that. But in the 70s especially, I mean, Francois is living a closeted life in most areas of his life too.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it takes people with power to be able to be like, I'm willing to put my career on the line for you.
Because on the other hand, he's like, we won't work with you if you're going to be racist.
Right.
And I think technically that does happen after this conversation with Francois. I think that conversation technically happens before Officer Clemmons officially enters the neighborhood. But like, it is still, I don't know. It's like hard for my brain to conceptualize.
I think the hardest part for me is the idea of Fred Rogers being like, in your personal life, you can't go to the skate bar anymore.
Yes.
Like it's the, you got to step way deeper into the closet. That's
tough.
That's really hard for me to accept, especially if like, do you really think the Pittsburgh press is going to cover it that closely? Like, is it going to be a national issue?
Yeah.
Or is this kind of like a whisper campaign that's sinking your career? That I don't feel good about.
Yeah.
That I feel legit hesitation around.
But then there's the argument that he's trying to do something that is good. And he is not wrong about the fact that if it does get out, like he doesn't have the PR power to shut it down.
Right.
And then
part of me is also curious, like, what role does Fred play in him marrying LaToya May? You know? Like, does he do it in large part, almost entirely because Fred Rogers is like, you need to marry a woman? Or is it because like Fred Rogers helps reaffirm a world in which he needs to marry a woman? Like, I don't know. I guess it's still the 70s, you know, which of course there's acceptance. Like Harvey Milk is a person at this point in history, but at the same time, like, no, there's not.
There's also another conversation that happens as Francois tells it in his memoir, that when he goes to the playpen that time that he thinks is when someone sees him and tells the neighborhood, that he's going with his other gay friend who hadn't come out to him yet, that he was pretty sure was gay, and also he was worried that this guy had feelings for him, but he didn't have feelings. And so he was taking him to like hopefully air that out and tell him like, I don't feel that way for you. And when that conversation happens, the two both say they have women back home that they are considering marrying.
Right.
And so it's unclear if like he had been thinking about that, because Nikki has been with Allison for the entirety of their relationship. And so but I also like his mom was trying to get him to marry Latanya. So it's like, I don't know. Anyway. We're getting towards the end, but there's a moment in 1976 where everyone is like getting fucking tired of producing the show, because they were producing like so many episodes every year that everyone's getting burnout. And so they decided that they would start rerunning old episodes for a few years because Fred legitimately felt there's only so many stories I can tell.
Right.
And I feel like I've kind of covered everything that kids need in the last several years.
That I want to tell.
I want to tell. And there's like 590 episodes. They think they've covered everything that they need to cover that a child would need to know, right? During the hiatus, they do like a couple special episodes, one for Christmas, one in spring. Part of the reason that they also did this was because Fred wanted to do a few like adult-based shows to talk to adults in the same way, but as meeting adults where they are. He ended up not being able to make the kinds of connections that he wanted to. So production ended up starting back up in 1978, but they planned on doing fewer episodes every year to prevent burnout. Around this time, there was a series of injuries sustained by children who had pretended to be Superman and like jumped from higher places. One child died, I believe, in 1979. They had like tied capes around their necks and like jumped from too high of a place. And it really bothered Fred because he believed he had covered all the things that needed to be covered, and things kept fucking happening. And he was really angry that it was basically his media that was causing this. He says, quote, "I am tired of hearing people who have long ago set aside the concerns of childhood telling everybody what children really need. I'll tell you what children need. They need adults who will protect them from the ever-ready molders of their world." Starting in the 80s, he did theme weeks instead of like one episode per like story. So there was 1 week on death, one on divorce, one on like kids who get lost. Another, like after the Superman incident, he did a week on like addressing pretendness. About grief, he said, quote, "Sometimes we need to struggle with a tragedy to feel the gravity of love." Gross. Jesus. But just to like humanize him a bit, he did around this time write a letter, I think to himself, that someone found that said, "Am I kidding myself that I'm able to write a script again? Am I really just whistling Dixie, I wonder? If I don't get down to it, I'll never really know. Why don't I trust myself? After all these years, it's just as bad as ever. The hour cometh, and now is when I've got to do it. Get to it, Fred. Get to it. But don't let anybody ever tell anybody else that it was easy. It wasn't." And increasingly, as he became more public, people kept asking him for like his opinion on public events, like the Challenger explosion in '86. And obviously 9/11 happens. And actually that one is particularly important because the show officially ends in 2000.
Okay.
And so in 2001, PBS brings him back in October of 2001 to do some pieces about 9/11. And Joanne remembers he was really troubled about what he could realistically do to help. And he's realizing how increasingly difficult the world is to rationalize to children as the problems that children face get bigger and more complicated.
Right.
At one point he's interviewed saying, the interviewer says, "You obviously have a power now. I mean, you wouldn't have had it when you first started the show." And he replies, "Well, it might sound very ingenuous, but I don't feel that. I would hope that anybody who sets himself or herself out to produce mass programming for children could have the kind of respect of childhood that I have, because it's not all clowns and balloons." And so now we're in our last little section of legacy. François Clemmons.
We love a legacy episode.
It's my favorite. I had to like stop myself from writing, so I was like, these people are too fascinating. 1976, François won a Grammy for a recording of Porgy and Bess, which is like a very famous opera. I think so. Yeah, an opera. Summertime. Yeah. Francois' heart project was the Harlem Spiritual Ensemble, which was a group of singers who dedicated themselves full-time to the production of American Negro spirituals. He started it in 1980, and it actually allowed him, as it grew, to quit the neighborhood because he was allowed to make a full-time income from
singing,
from doing this traveling and preservation and sustaining of American Negro spirituals for future generations. Fred actually paid very special attention to this project, and he gave them their first grant when they formed their nonprofit, which is called the American Negro Spiritual Research Foundation. And the grant specifically that Fred gave was to support their work in school and commissions of new arrangements, and for young artists to include spirituals in their singing recitals. Francois officially retires from the neighborhood in 93, 100% his own decision, but as a result of the ensemble. But he did agree to come back and perform from time to time and to continue touring with Fred on occasion. On his last episode, Fred and Francois recreated the kiddie pool scene from 1963, and he sang a few songs, one of which being Many Ways to Say I Love You, which is just a very wholesome song that's like, it's not just saying I love you. Like, you can sing I love you. You can hang up their jacket. You can clean up your room. You can like do all these other things to say it. It's just so fucking cute. The one primary difference between the 1969 version of this kiddie pool scene and this version happening in 93 is that in 69, Francois dried his own feet, and then Fred dried his own feet. And instead of that, Fred dried Francois's feet for him. And obviously both are still relatively religious people or spiritual people. And Francois immediately saw the connection to Jesus, cleaning his disciples' feet. And he found it and continues, as from the interviews that I've heard with him, continues to find it one of the most moving things. He said, quote, "I am a black gay man and Fred washed my feet." So here are two pictures, one from that 93 scene and then Francois.
Good for Francois.
Maybe in like 2020, 2019.
It's crazy to think that this modern photo is of a man who once had a wife.
I know. Dude, I'll show you like a video after we're done with this episode, but you can see how he dresses now. And it's like effeminate, but like not apologetic. It's African
great.
And yeah.
There's a lot of big
color
jewelry,
he
but
wears
it's great.
Earrings and
it's a very big collar. That's a very big collar.
Very big collar. In 1996, he got an honorary doctorate at Middlebury College in Vermont and got offered a job as the choral director and a residency in a local area. And he realized that if he accepted it, this would be the first time that he wouldn't have to travel all the time in order to make his living.
Oh, cool.
For a lot of the time while he was working on the neighborhood, he was also a member of like the New York Metropolitan. It wasn't like the like actual opera of the Metro, but it was like the studio or something like that.
Right.
So he was flying all the time between New York and Ohio. And Pittsburgh, and then Ohio as well. So his doctor was like literally like, "Please, for the love of God, take it. This job is killing you.
Slow down a little."
Yeah. And so he made the painful decision to dissolve the ensemble because there was no like fiscal viability if he wasn't there. Him as Officer Clemmons was the primary draw to people coming to watch performances. At one point, when he was done with one of the tours before the ensemble dissolved, he got back to New York City and he was feeling particularly thankful for Fred and all of the ways that relationship had helped him in his career and personally. He wanted to say thank you and express his gratitude. And so he wrote a check to Fred's nonprofit, like not even thinking. He was already writing checks to all these other people. He was doing all this stuff. And Fred called him and said, "Let me tell you something, Franz. In all the years I've been working with children and sharing my vision for PBS and our program, no one who worked for me has ever given me such a contribution like this. I can't tell you what this means to me. I will never forget it." When he published his memoir, which was the primary source for today, on the topic of his relationship with Fred, he said, "Our relationship was sustained, intense, and elbow to elbow. For me, Fred fulfilled the role of mentor, fan, and surrogate father." On a bit of a separate note, currently, Francois is still alive. He is 81 years old this year, 2026. Recently has had 2 strokes in like the last decade. And he is living in a nursing home in Vermont near Middlebury College. And he receives no royalties from the Fred Rogers show.
That's
I think that's
crazy.
just how that happened at the time,
Sure.
I guess. So anyway, he has a GoFundMe that is still active. It's called Officer Clemmons Needs Our Help. And I believe I checked it earlier. They're at like, and it's been active for like a couple years. So I think they're just using it to help fund his nursing home and medical bills. But if you want to donate, more than welcome. They're still, I think, like they're $25,000 short of their fundraising goal. But and then I'll attach some clips of Francois singing in the show notes that I'll show you after. But now he wears only vibrant African attire and says he loves it because he wasn't allowed to love it growing up and because it's feminine. So Fred Rogers. Fred and Joanne had 2 sons, James and John, the sons are still alive today. Joanne passed in 2021. Joanne, James, and John were all interviewed in the 2018 documentary. The only time his kids remember ever Fred being proud of what he'd done, like outwardly, he was always so humble, was his interview with Coco the gorilla. Coco could communicate in sign language and told him that she loves him in that moment. It's actually like so fucking wholesome. Like, absolutely fucking watch it. It's maybe one of the cutest videos I've ever seen in my entire life. He asks Coco to like teach him how to communicate like hello to him because it's fucking precious. In 2001, he was also given an honorary doctorate from Middlebury College at the suggestion of Francois. It wasn't his first honorary doctorate, I think. He gave his last commencement speech at Dartmouth in 2002, and he addresses what he meant when he said you're special, because there were always going to be haters of his thing. Obviously, people were like, how dare you always tell kids that they're special, that they don't have to work for it. You've ruined an entire generation. And I mean, we've all heard that fucking same speech about like trophies that were given, like
participation trophies.
Yeah, participation trophies, all that. So he clarifies what he meant, and he said, quote, "And what that ultimately means, of course, is that you don't ever have to do anything sensational for people to love you." Nick Tallow, the guy who worked on set, who gave all those stories,
the one who did the
mooned Fred's camera, said there isn't room for a nice guy like Fred on TV anymore, unfortunately. But back then, it wasn't so strange that somebody as nice as Fred was around. Fred passed in 2003 due to stomach cancer. There was a memorial service May 3rd of 2003. Across the street, there was an anti-gay protest.
Classic.
Not because they thought Fred was gay, but because they were upset that Fred tolerated gay people.
Was it the Westboro Baptist Church?
I am not sure. It was just someone who was close with Fred that went over because they were like, Fred would have done this. The thing that this friend remembers was how miserable the children who had been dragged along to this protest looked. Fred had had stomach problems for a very long time leading up to this, but he wanted to die well with his hopes for the future generations intact. He said, quote, or one of the quotes that I remember that I thought would be good at the end, he said, "I think everybody longs to be loved and longs to know that they are lovable. And consequently, the greatest thing that we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving." And of course, the check that Francois wrote for Fred, he never cashed.
Aww.
So the very last little section, what would have Fred done today? Because this documentary was released in 2018. The memoir was released in 2020. Joanne and all of his other friends ask the question to themselves and each other what Fred would have done in today's climate. Would he have given up? And they all agreed no. I mean, obviously. But the person who operates, I think, his foundation now, Lee, said in response to the question, what would Fred Rogers do? It's not a question that you can answer. The most important question is what you are going to do. And then the documentary cuts to this moment of Fred talking at the commencement speech. From the time you were very little, you've had people who've smiled you into smiling, people who've talked you into talking, sung you into singing, and loved you into loving. And then he does that exercise where he has them think about someone who's helped them get to where they're going. And let's take some extra time to think of those extra special people. Some of them may be right here. Some may be far away. Some may even be in heaven. No matter where they are, deep down, you know they've always wanted what was best for you. They've always cared about you beyond measure and encouraged you to be the best within you. Joanne made sure that Fred's story was told. She helped produce music and voices for the show, taught at various music schools in the 50s and 60s. After Fred's death, she headed up his production company and went on media tours to promote the release of a book that contained a lot of his speeches and writings. She then helped to develop Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, a PBS show that is still on today. It premiered in 2012, and season 8 is set to premiere in June of this year, 2026.
Is it animated?
Okay. She passed away at the age of 92 in 2021. And now there is a Fred Rogers Institute whose mission is to advance Fred's legacy by investing in the strengths of families and caring adults to support the healthy development of children. And there are 2 last quotes from Fred because I literally couldn't help myself. The most important learning is the ability to accept and expect mistakes and deal with the disappointments that they bring. And the last one, we need to help our children become more and more aware that what is essential in life is invisible to the eye. I just can't with this motherfucking guy.
He was a good guy.
He's a good man, Savannah. Good man.
How are you feeling now knowing the body of Fred Rogers' work?
I know it sounds awful, but like it's like you with the Girl Scouts. I was like, I want there to be like
something more sensational.
Yeah, like something even like a little scandalous that I can like at least cling to, or like
that we can use to like fill out 2 sides of a coin on.
Right. Yeah. And that came from Francois instead, I think, from like his beginnings. And who knows, maybe Fred had more of that in the beginning that he just was never public about. Highly possible. But like, I just think it's their relationship specifically was really just so sweet.
Sure.
Yeah.
I am reflecting on the fact that you had me read the sentence, he looks like he has a lot of meat, in an episode about Fred Rogers. Absolutely not where I thought that was going to go. So thank you for that as an educator.
Oh my God,
so
you're
special.
Welcome. I'm going to bleep random words in that sentence just to confuse everyone.
And then you are now also in like the terrible time.
Yeah, but I'm kind of excited about this next story.
Okay, so listener, you probably know, but the terrible time is when you have to do the second episode of a theme and then the first episode of the next theme.
I don't know why we organized it like this.
Listen, it's because right now it's really nice.
It is really nice for you. Yeah.
It switches back and forth pretty aggressively.
Especially with our schedules, because we'll go like 2 weeks without recording. So it's really nice for somebody.
Yeah, I panicked at least 3 times this week that I thought I had a story next week, and I don't. Because I don't.
Welcome.
I have the intention of finding my topic
yeah.
for the theme, and then my theme's next.
I did read almost the entirety of François Clemmons' memoir today, so it's been a bit of a day.
Good. And then that 90-minute meeting.
You have no idea how true that is. I went to F45, came back, took a quick little nap, slept so hard in that nap.
Yeah,
I woke up thinking I had slept through F45, which I had already come back from. So, and then read a 200-page memoir. Side note, if you're interested, also that memoir is like beautifully written. It's tragic at times and like heartwarming at times. Literally the last like sentence in the book was that Fred never cashed that check. And I had to like sit there and like stare at the screen for a second because I was like, and also if you're like an Audible girly, he narrates it and his voice is so soothing and he just has so much joy in like the way that he talks. But anyway, I digress.
Well, thank you all for joining us this week. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you've been lawfully evil or lawfully good. I mean, it depends on kind of where you
Neutral,
are.
maybe.
Find us on social media. If you have stories for lawful good or the next theme, Kiss the Ring, or people you know have done crimes. We love people you know have done crimes. Any of these stories, lawful good, Kiss the Ring, people I know have done crimes. Please submit them to willilaughed@gmail.com, or willilaughed.com has a submission page. You can find additional content on Patreon where we share things that are significantly more scandalous behind an incredibly small paywall. And then finally, of course, feel free to request a Patreon. Just kind of
Cameo.
right, that one. just kind of feel free to, at any moment, see what I'm doing during the summer. Because by the time this
I'm
posts,
scared.
we're going to be so close to summer break.
I'm scared for what that's going to bring.
Nice. Almost got the speech right.
Yeah.
Almost got, for us being off for so long, got a
You
lot
also
of it
just
right.
sat through like a 3-hour episode. So
Okay. It was good to hear about it. I love Fred Rogers. So this is good to know.
I thought this was going to be a short episode when I thought it was just going to be Fred Rogers. It was going to be about an hour long. And then I found Officer Clemmons.
Sometimes I will watch, because you talked about like the documentary and stuff. Sometimes I will watch documentaries and it will be moving, but not as moving as the Dr. Ruth documentary was. And
yeah.
I was like, well, what's even the fucking point? I don't even want to watch this anymore.
No, that's
I can't
so
make
fair.
an episode about this. But
Yeah.
you put a lot of work into this and it was really nice. And certainly
Don't
took.
compliment me right now. I'm not in the space for it.
Gotcha. So join us on
Wait, no, I want
Patreon.
to hear the rest of the compliment.
Good job.
Okay, thanks.
Join us on Patreon.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye.